Poisonrana.
Hello.
Hello.
Braden Herrington here with Davie Portman for Poisonrana Live. You found us at whatever podcast app you are using, and we are
live on youtube.com/@PoisonRanaPod. Hello, YouTube room. How are we doing?
We are live, but Davie, are we alive today?
I'm trying my best. I'm trying my best here. I've got my water. I've got my electrolytes. We'll see how we'll do.
So Davie went on a vacation to Mexico last week and brought back a Mexican grudge. What are we talking here? Some stomach bug, a snake in your boot? What is it?
I don't know. It kind of started around Tuesday, and I thought it was just kind of recovering, but then Thursday, Friday got really bad, and Friday especially was so bad that I had to go to hospital and was in hospital for most of the day. And now I'm on some antibiotics, and I've got an ultrasound tomorrow and referral.
Are you pregnant?
To another clinic next week. Yeah, we'll see. We'll see. I am getting better.
Okay.
I feel better by the day, but I'm still very much not right at the moment. So if at any point during this show I just disappear, I don't know, just talk about the career of Gigi Dolan.
Sounds good. I'll do that, definitely. Well, I hope you're okay, because you were telling me the last few days how you were feeling, and then when you told me you were going to the hospital, you're like, I got a message, I'm at work, and I look at my phone briefly, and it's like, I put you down as my emergency contact. Here's my mom's phone number. I was like, oh my God, it's over. That's it. He's done. Gonna have to ship him home in a box.
It has meant I've been able to watch things like Collision this week and stuff like that.
Wow.
But no, it's been tough. It's been a mixture of it was very severe abdominal pain for a while, and then it's been some less pretty things, and I just feel very weak.
And now the cops are coming for you.
A lot of lack of energy. And now the
that's
cops
your ambulance.
Yeah, no, that's the ambulance. That's the ambulance. Yeah, Graham called me in. But we'll see. We'll see how we do with this one.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I hope you feel better.
Because I missed last week. I didn't want to miss another week.
Yeah. No, it's okay. Well, you had a good vacation. Was it worth it?
Yeah, it was awesome. It was a great time, and I am kind of glad. Even though my bank account could have used me going to work this week. Yeah. I'm very glad it happened now rather than when I was away. True.
It could have happened early on the trip, and
yeah,
you don't know what it was, but as long as you're on the mend and getting better, that's what matters. So we're here today, and we're going to talk about some wrestling, as we always do. Hello, welcome in the chat. Drop a frog if you hear us. Hit that subscribe on our YouTube and Instagram. Give us a follow. We appreciate all the love and support here. We have tons of shows. We're going to dive into all the news going on in the world of wrestling and then some. But I do got to shout out some of the other stuff that we have, especially here on this free feed. Our boys Siino Evil and B Detroit just dropped an episode of Wattup Doe, which, if you haven't listened already, definitely worth checking out, especially if you've seen the movie Sinners, which is out now and kind of killing it in the box office, which I thought was an awesome movie. Well, the lads jump into some great discussion about that, but they kick things off with WreslteMania week and Raw after that, and a whole giant conversation. So go check them out if you haven't already, because they make me laugh with some of the stuff those two get up to on Wattup Doe. And then, of course, Shot in the Dark as well, once a week, where Siino Evil fills you in on all the other wrestling that you may or may not watch, and we'll let you know what goes on in WoW with all that's going on with the tag team.
I'm sure Shot in the Dark is going to have a bunch of new characters with new names coming in the next 30 to 90 days, I would say.
Absolutely, especially 30. Yeah. I'd say that 30 will hit for sure. But we also have a patreon.com/Poisonrana. Check us out. It's $5 a month to get access to all the shows that we have coming out this month and all the shows that we've done in the past, including all the best match evers, all the movie reviews, wrestling. And this week we released a retro NXT review, hyping up for the first ever takeover, which is a show we will be doing in the next few weeks, making it, I think, the 11th anniversary. But we're finally up to date with a takeover, the first ever on our Patreon. But we've recently done some WreslteMania reviews, and then this week We have a movie review, Davie. You said we got a world champ, a family member pick. Who is it, and what are we watching this week?
Sunil, who's picked Big Trouble in Little China.
Whoa, all right. We're gonna talk about Kurt Russell, and I'm excited.
How many Kurt Russell films have we done now?
It's a bit of a joke, I think. Yeah, it's a bit of a gag.
We've done The Thing, haven't we? And we did Escape from New York.
Tango and Cash.
Tango and Cash. So is
the best one, obviously.
There must be another Kurt Russell film we've done. Sure.
So if you love Kurt Russell and you think we should review another Kurt Russell movie, it's not too late. Sign up as a family member patron. But Sunil has picked Big Trouble Little China, which a few people have told us that they always like have that one on the back burner, but someone finally pulled the trigger, and I think it will make for a fun review. Have you ever seen this movie?
No, it's another one, sort of bucket list stuff to tick off. So very much excited for this one. It's
Kurt Russell, 80s cheese, yeah, get ready, strap in. It's fun. And we're going to have some fun talking about it this week over on the Patreon. So appreciate anyone who wants to become a friend. It's $5. You get that show plus all the other shows that we do here in Poisonrana. We'll be live this Tuesday as well, upcoming with NXT. Up next, we're going to chat all about the road to Battleground coming up in a few weeks. There seems like WreslteMania has come and gone, but the wrestling has not come and gone because it never goes away.
There's some crazy weeks and weekends, and we did just record our WrestleMania 32 review with John Pollock over on the Post Wrestling feed. Us two filling in for Mr. Waiting, which was a really fun show. And kind of as we went off air, kind of discussing between the three of us, how we're going to manage some of these crazy weekends of wrestling, and to be determined, I think, because TKO especially stacking some of these weekends with multiple shows a day, UFC same weekend and stuff like that. It's pretty nuts.
Yes. So they're doing Backlash next week. We're going to talk about a preview of that in a little bit, but then the Battleground weekend, which is the end of May. It's like
May
the same 25th. Day as that's the same day as Double or Nothing. And then in June, there's the Worlds Collide before Money in the Bank, and then the UFC at night. Yeah, so that's a lot in one day that will somehow cover. somehow, some way. But we will, because we're your NXT friends, and we'll always be. So we'll have you covered. Stay tuned for that, and of course at Post Wrestling too, because they cover everything over there. So lots of stuff to talk about this week, and I think the main thing we need to jump on to start with today. We got to do something we do on this show. Feels like it's been a while. We haven't done some pouring out. We have to pour one out, or pour many out, as we talk about the releases, the latest cuts of WWE. Cuts, releases, contracts, non-renewals, whatever you want to call them. We're here today to talk about our dearly departed.
Happening kind of just before and during SmackDown on Friday, a bunch of talent cuts and non-contract renewals or contract non-renewals across WWE, a lot from NXT and developmental, but a few main roster ones as well. And I think I'll start off before we go into them, and I think we'll go by each person sort of one by one and say what we see for them, and whether we think it was the right move, wrong move, where we see them ending up perhaps, and maybe talk about their career a little bit. To start with, I think, and this comes up every single time, I hate the fact how one-sided these contracts are. Like, you sign a contract, you honor that contract. You sign for 3 years. Both parties should be honoring that 3 years. And it is incredibly one-sided where, the talent can go, actually, this isn't working out for me. Can I leave? And quite often get met with a no. Whereas the WWE can go whenever they want. Yeah, we've signed you for this amount of money for this amount of time, but actually we're cutting this whenever. Sort of the length of these contracts are kind of bullshit. That aside, I think you see this, we know that as wrestling fans, these talent know it going into these contracts, what the deal is. We see so many people now. You've got WWE ID, you've got Evolve, you've got LFG, you've got NXT. That's your whole developmental system with so many more and more people coming in. You've got to release some people. You've got to make space for these people come in. A, to keep the product interesting and have character turnover. But B, you just can't have all these talents there. And I would think for a lot of these talents, they'd rather be wrestling than sort of being on the bench, if we're to use that word that's kind of been thrown around recently. So yeah, that's kind of where I stand on that. I do wish these contracts would change. I would much rather someone, like in the case of a Shotzi Blackheart, we're not renewing your contract. That's perfectly fine. You've signed a 3-year contract. There's absolutely no, what's the word? Kind of commitment to renew it after that. But, someone like Shayna Baszler, who I believe just re-signed last year to be cut, that is shitty. But that aside, you need talent to come and go, and you do need turnover.
What? Yeah, 100%. Like what the whole thing? Like what? Non-union or what do they call them? Not employees.
Well,
but
freelance, independent contractors.
Yeah, independent contractors, and I guess that still stands because that's definitely worked into how these contracts work. And as always, like I feel like once a year we get these, especially after Mania time. I think we kind of saw the writing on the wall. I think in the last few weeks, even on some shows, we were like, I think they're tying up some loose ends because we've seen how they do this. And
I mean, I think even those Nick Khan comments of we don't bench people and everyone's like, hang on, but you kind of do. I think that was kind of maybe a little bit of a tip off as well.
So like you can always tell, you can always see if people who are like serious about wrestling, sports entertainment, if you will, and if they choose to pursue it and if they like can make a career out of it. You see some people who just flat out leave the wrestling industry as a whole and go into other things. So like these are still people, and these are people that are entertainers for a lot of us, and they're real people, and like this is affecting their livelihood and everything. But at the same time, this list right now is like, yeah, I think a lot of people are like, they have been people that have been benched. They have been people that have not like necessarily, I'm looking at, and again, all the power to respect to anyone who goes inside a squared circle, but I'm looking at all the people that have been in this company in developmental for a long time. And at this, eventually, like, when do you like go, okay, hey, actually, like, this just isn't what we want, or it's not working for us. And that's just like, respectfully, this is how it's going to be for certain people. You just, you're just not what they want, or it's not up to the standard of what they want. So because you see so much discourse on wrestling, internet wrestling community, or whatever you want to call it. And it's like, people can be, so I couldn't imagine the shit that they get on social media. Like, we do a bad podcast once in a while. We'll get some shit for some people. You're a wrestler. Just think of all the shit you get every day, probably. So I feel for these people, but I hope the ones that are interested in still pursuing wrestling, I think you're going to see them flourish. There's a lot of people who I think will show up in wrestling right now. Yeah, WWE as a whole is super popular, but at the same time, it's elevated wrestling just in general as popular. So there's so many other places to go to. There's your TNAs. Maybe this is a ruse from WWE. This is a power play. They're playing chess when everyone's playing checkers. We'll use TNA talent and TNA will pay them, so we don't have to pay them, but it'll be the same talent that we have on our shows. It's like, oh, wow. Yeah. So there's not any on this list. And again, not being a dickhead, there's not any on this list that I'm like genuinely shocked by this year around.
No. Well, shall we go through them?
Absolutely.
Starting with Braun Strowman, who second time being released from the company. And, I think Braun, I've kind of grown a bit of a soft spot for him this last run. I think he's been used like pretty well in getting people like your Bronson Reeds and your Jacob Fatu's over. He's had some fun kind of car crash matches. But also looking at him, like his knees are like shot. He can't move like he used to. He's in that big show kind of role, which is fine and it's needed. It's good having a big guy there to help put people over. But when you've got the likes of a Bronson Reed who's going to be returning, sorry, what's his name? Jeff Cobb, who's coming into the company, and a bunch of other big men, I don't really know if there's much place for Braun Strowman other than just being that guy to occasionally put people over. And I'm sure he's one of the higher contracts, so I'm not overly surprised by this. And I wonder, I'd say, like, looking at him, I think the guy needs to have a bit of a rest and maybe some double knee surgery or something. But whether we'll see him show up, do the odd, like odd spots here and there in different companies, whether he'll have a long-term contract anywhere else, I'm not sure.
He's just really big, and I think that's just always been his gimmick. You know, we've watched him as a Rosebud through the years, right? The Exotic Express. We've watched him in the Wyatts. We've watched him be released and then brought back. We've watched him, or I guess no one watched him, but we saw him attempt to control his narrative. I wonder if he'll try to do something like that. I remember I never really liked watching him really as a wrestler, to be fair. No issue with the guy. I couldn't really get into the wrestling, but it was during the pandemic when he was, I don't know, Twitter fingers a little bit and telling people like, oh, you know, go get a job and like this and that. And like a 7-foot tall dude telling me like, you know, oh yeah, it was hard for me too. It's like, bro, you're 7 feet tall and like you've always been that tall. Like, I think that rubbed some people the wrong way. And maybe he has controlled his narrative in a different way and grew up. But like he's super well off from working in WWE all these years. I don't think he's necessarily going to be hurting for anything. And I'm sure he could have a return spot here or there or show up somewhere else. But right now, like, fix those knees, man. He his move was the running train thing, but he couldn't run. So it was kind of painful to watch. But you know, credit to the guy who is clearly in some pain. Like some of the matches he put on this year to get people like a Reed and Fatu over. I got to give him some credit for that. Not that I've ever really liked him as a like promo or actor, but he does have a look about him. I could see him being just some random monster heavy in some lower budget movies and things. I think Braun will be okay, you know? Yeah. Like, dude's gonna be fine. But you know what? Yeah, what is that an avenue he's ever again, he just is huge that you could cast him in certain roles. It's like we've seen wrestlers in the past, just because you're giant and jacked, you get put in movies. I could totally see that working for him, and maybe we will down the line. But get those knees fixed, hopefully. Yeah, get these knees. Oh man, what was his thing when he had Roman with the like? I'm not finished yet. What was not done yet? I'm not finished with you. Yeah. So I feel like there's a big Rumble return spot down the line for him. We then had, who I think's had some of the most talk about her, Dakota Kai being cut. Yeah. Is this okay? I said like I'm not necessarily surprised by these cuts. This one, if I were to be, I'm like just like, oh, okay. This one, she has been someone that's been discussed as on a quote on the bench, you know, because we just kind of haven't seen her, and it makes people question like, oh, maybe she's injured, or maybe there's a reason she hasn't been featured on TV. And I do think she's got like some personality and popularity, especially going back to the days before WWE. Shout out Evie, Team Kick, and like her rise through WWE. People always followed her and supported her, and I think we were always waiting for like that moment or time. And she's had injuries in the past that have maybe stalled that, but I think over time people are like been waiting. Okay, when's it her time? When are they gonna like let her shine? And I don't know necessarily why that hasn't happened, but out of maybe this entire list, I would like to see what she could do elsewhere in the world of wrestling. And I imagine we get to see some I think she would like to like impress and show people what she is capable of being on the bench for the past little while. So I'd say this one, Dakota, might be on the top of my, I'm interested to see like where she can go. Cause like before she was in Stardom, like she wrestled in Japan. So I'm interested to see some different matchups there. Yeah, she's actually the one, in a way, I'm kind of
happy she is, because I think she has the most potential outside of WWE. I found it odd when these new like mid-card titles were made. I thought one of them was like, she is perfect for like a IC title or a US title or something like that. But yeah, she has had some stalling in WWE. She seems very well liked. Of all these people, I don't want AEW to just pick up all these people, but I think Dakota is someone I'd be happy seeing move over there. I think there is a higher ceiling to her. I think her wrestling is very good. And I think she's proved in stuff with like Damage Control and like her feuds in NXT when she turned heel. She is very capable on the mic as well. So I see higher things for her, and she, there's space for all these people to come back at some point should they reinvent themselves and elevate themselves. So Dakota is kind of the one person on this list I'd go, yeah, you know what, an AEW run. They're still looking to bolster that women's division. I think she'd be great there.
I totally agree. Out of this entire list, I don't want to be like, oh, they should go be elite. Oh, they should go to like, there's a chance more than just one person here do at least end up or have an appearance or, Ring of Honor or whatever. But out of all of them, I think the curiosity would be like that she would be the one. I would say it would be like her or Shayna, really.
She's from New Zealand, whether she'd want to go back home and do some stuff in Japan or, almost the Mercedes route, do a bit of both, some Japan and some stuff in America. That's
Stardom, the match right there.
Stardom have lost a lot of people recently. Like there's gaps in there that maybe she'd want to do that. There's Marigold. There's a lot of things I think she could potentially do. But AEW, a Mercedes Dakota feud would be pretty sweet.
Yeah, I'm the most interested to see where she lands in what we get out of her, and hopefully she can rise to the occasion and prove people wrong. I would imagine she is AEW.
We have Kaden Carter and Katana Chance as well. Two girls we've been following a long time from there, right from the Mae Young Classic. I think the second Mae Young Classic, right?
We've been there, Davie. Yeah, we've gone to the raves with them on TV, right? When the promos and vignettes where we would see them
country
at the
concert they were at. Yeah,
Boots and Hearts, or I don't know what that was, but yeah, very, very odd because they put so much time and stock in NXT into them, and they created tag titles for women, and this is the only like real tag team I'd say like in WWE, and I don't know, I never necessarily like loved these two, but at the same time I could see that they were like putting in the work, and even back in the NXT days they were totally shooting in the gym and getting better and putting on some fun matches. So I can't say that they have blown anyone away in the last few years, especially being on main roster, but again, like there hasn't been a focus on tag team, so I wonder if they'll stick together as a tag team. I feel like TNA would be great, and that's how you could bring them back into WWE, but there's so many other wrestling places right now. And if WWE, I wonder, like, if WWE has this relationship with TNA, are TNA allowed to bring in ex-WWE people still as much as they used to? Because like that's TNA's bread and butter. Is like,
I don't see why not.
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah,
like
they're still their own company, aren't they? They're not owned by WWE,
But yeah, so I'm sure they'll continue wrestling whether it's together or not. Like I'm pretty sure.
I always just found their characters a little lame. I think that's what never connected with me. But they did, like some of their ring stuff was really exciting to watch, and they did get reactions from the crowds when it came to the wrestling. Like that keg stand was always very impressive, and I think there was if there was actually a serious focus on the women's tag division rather than being used for more of a prop for other storylines going on, like we've seen with Judgment Day, etc. I think these two would have had a higher ceiling in the company, but they really don't care about the women's tag division. TNA, I think, feels right for them. I see them fitting in there. I think they do well there. The knockout division is pretty good. They have women's tag titles as well. Yeah. I think it would be best for these two to stick together. And I could see them slipping into TNA pretty nicely. It feels like a good fit. And as Ryan says in the chat, TNA did bring in Indy Hartwell. So they have brought in released WWE talent.
Is that recently?
Yeah, they just signed her like last week.
Okay.
Yeah.
Right.
Shayna Baszler, someone who's been in the company for quite a while. Again, we followed from NXT. One of your absolute favorites, I know, Braden, getting released.
Yeah. I don't know, because I have read that she had been working with people in NXT, and maybe, down the line they were looking at some sort of coaching position or something. And she had quite a run, I'd say, in NXT, but on the main roster, nothing hit for me whatsoever. And I feel like right now, again, the landscape of just wrestling outside of WWE, look what's really popular. We don't really like it, but Bloodsport is really popular, and here you go, your star of that promotion for the next few years right here. Like, she's been wrestling, like I watched her last year, right? Like, she's been doing it anyways, and now like she'll just focus on that. And again, I said when we were discussing Dakota, out of all the other ones on this list, I do feel like maybe like an AEW or like a Ring of Honor, or like if she's maybe in the twilight of like wrestling as a full-on character, maybe there's more coaching things to be doing. Again, not one of my favorite characters in wrestling, but I feel like she's also got a bit of her fans out there. And I don't know, I feel like she'd be more interesting wrestling outside of WWE. So there's a few different avenues.
Like I remember, and you've never been a fan, but I remember that Bloodsport you went to in Philly, you coming out going like, man, that Masha Slamovich Shayna match was really good. And I was like, I don't believe you. And you're like, I loved it.
It blew me away. And I went, wait, she's doing like this kind of stuff, but I hate her in WWE. How is that? So now with the cuffs are off, like I would say that is definitely where you will see her.
I always thought if like time frames were different, and when she moved up to the main roster, it was a Triple H main roster, I think her ceiling would have been so much higher. I just don't think Vince got it with her at all. I mean, she's not one of the like bombshells that that Vince would like. And her, like, she came in as like a vampire biting Becky Lynch. Like it never worked on the main roster. And I think by the time Triple H took over, that stink was kind of already there, that it was too little too late, that you couldn't really rehab Shayna. I could see her, I could see her coming back in a coaching role at some point, and I could see her more likely doing short stints in companies, maybe not full-time AEW, but coming in for a quick storyline, which we've seen happen before, or a TNA or stuff like that, but definitely continuing Bloodsport and those sort of things.
Like, I know it wasn't technically AEW TV, but it wasn't at Ring of Honor where they had Ronda Rousey show up.
Yeah.
Right. So like right now, Marina Shafir is featured in the Death Riders, and Jessamine Duke, Shayna, Marina, Ronda, the four horsewomen could reunite.
Absolutely. Or wouldn't it be cool someone brings her into like a pose Marina? Like it's the Death Riders are always costing things, and it's like, okay, well, I've got my heavy, and it's Shayna, and it doesn't necessarily have to be she's signing to 3 years with AEW, but you could have her like I think there's still use to be made with Shayna Baszler, but I don't necessarily see her landing anywhere full time. I see her being more showing up at these GCW shows and just odd spots here and there.
And I think that'll be a lot of fun for her. Again, she's made some probably great money, and now she can go kick people's heads off in Bloodsport. So I'd say look out if you're in a fight with her, because she definitely brings it at those shows. And Bloodsport's not my full on thing, but there is a difference also when you're watching it live and experiencing it live. It's it adds to it. And I will praise that match last year. So that's definitely where she will go.
We then move to NXT with Cora Jade being released.
Yeah, someone we see like very often, and maybe it's been a little while on TV. In fact, we kept raising questions of, hey, why is Roxanne walking out on Cora? Hey, why is Roxanne teaming with Julia? And there's no reference to Cora Jade and this and that. And I think we were kind of like, maybe there's some writing on the wall there. And turned
It
out
was odd that they never followed up on that story or kind of even mentioned it after the last PLE.
You know, I can't really remember outside of that match that Roxanne walked out on the PLE. The match where she like got injured and they had to like stop the match. You know, remember that? Like that was really odd. I know she's had some injuries, but I don't know. I feel like she's kind of popular with certain people, and maybe they just decided to. I can't say I was always never a really big fan of her wrestling, but I always thought she had like the attitude, the mean girl thing, pretty down pat. And I don't know. I could easily see her running a TNA or somewhere else, and again being a very like vocal character. But what about you?
Yeah, I think like I was going back and forth on Twitter with someone because I'm at home sick and bored. So that's what you do. You get into arguments online about wrestling. But someone was saying about blaming Becky Lynch for this, which I found absolutely ridiculous because, there was the tweet from Becky kind of making fun of Cora and Roxanne being punks girls. And
does that have a fact?
Well, she was saying basically this person online was basically saying that they're burying both, and I'm like, sorry, Roxanne is in a feud with Rhea Ripley on Raw. Like, how is that being buried? And I said Cora Jade has been in the company for 5 years and hasn't shown any sign of improvement in Rip. And they're coming back like, oh well, Jey Uso is your world heavyweight champion. It's like, come on, Jey Uso. Yeah, I'm not greatest fan of his wrestling, but look at the merch he's selling. Is Cora Jade selling this? I get the feeling a lot of people are fans with Cora Jade, maybe based on other things outside of her wrestling, and get the sense maybe don't necessarily watch NXT, because we have watched Cora a long time. And I personally think some of these pretty new signings have lapped her twice. But she's young, she does have something about her. She clearly has a fan base out there. And she did, like, it took time, but I think her mean girl persona thing, like, she did kind of start to own and like make that more full and more believable to her. She's only 24. There's so much time for her to come back. And she's someone where, Matt Cardona put out a tweet where there are 3 things you can do. You can, one, like, live off your WWE reputation and coast. You can decide wrestling isn't for you and give up and find something else. Or you can completely reinvent yourself, work the hardest you've ever worked, work everywhere, and have the time of your life. And I think Cora, if she is serious about wrestling, and I think she is, like, she, we know she's been a fan since she was a kid. We've seen those pictures and stuff. I think she really needs to work her ass off, because she has time on her side to come back to this company down the line and hopefully have made a name for herself. But she needs to hopefully avoid injuries, which has been tough. She's had a few, like, double ACL at such a young age, but really needs to improve the ring work as well.
Yeah, absolutely. I feel like we've seen her before NXT. Someone in the chat, Ryan, saying, remember, she used to go by Elena Black, which I think is the name now she's going to be going by. She used to come out with the coffin, right? That's right. That was the thing. She traded the coffin for a skateboard, and it didn't really work for me, because not only are we pouring one out for Cora Jade, but we're pouring one out for the paper skateboard. One of my favorite NXT angles of all time. I think she'll be fine. I don't think wrestling was necessarily her like forte, but if that's something that maybe she focuses on, like, that could really improve her game. But right now she is an ex-WWE superstar. She's hot. People will completely follow her and support her, and I hope she continues to like stay in the world of wrestling, and maybe she will improve. Maybe this will light a fire under her ass to be like, oh, because she's teaming with Roxanne, and it looks like they're actually friends in real life from everything, and people, pair them together, and then you watch them wrestle, and it's like Roxanne is like, oh my God, like, it's generational, possibly. Yeah, it's like one of the best wrestlers maybe going today, and then Cora Jade is her friend. So it's like, okay, there was something there. And I'd say this, I didn't expect them to just cut her like that, but I guess they're like, you haven't gotten better. Maybe the injuries had something to do with it. I'm not too sure.
It's also, she's been there 5 years, right? And now you've got your Sol Rukas, you've got your Jada Parkers, your Kalani Jordans, all of those who I think are better than her in ring now. And they want to move up people. And you've been there long enough now. Like, well, if you're not, she's not good enough to be kind of like a Fallon Henley, who I feel is in NXT helping a lot of this younger talent up. But if you're not showing improvements that some of the other girls are, what are we doing here? I think, to be honest, like, I'd like to see her do a bit of an indie run. I could see her in a TNA down the line, but I'd like to see her just work as much indies as she can for now and kind of do a bit of the grind before finding somewhere else. And yeah. I do see her back in WWE one day.
Hopefully, maybe. But
what do you see for her?
No, that's like my criticisms of her over the last few years is I haven't seen the wrestling improve. I saw her improve the like catty character that she's been doing, but I can't say the wrestling has like zero interest in the wrestling from me. So if that's something that she can work on, then maybe that's, you know, maybe she doesn't need to. Maybe that's just something she just like will go off as more of a mouthpiece character, more of like a promo character. But I don't know. There's so much to do now.
If
like
that's
GCW.
The case, she needs to build something more than just I am mean. You know, like we've seen complete reinvention on the indies where it can really make a name for yourself.
Yeah.
And then Gigi Dolan.
I mean, a similar situation, right? Someone who I'd say had a bit more of a name for herself before WWE with Priscilla Kelly, which now, of course, she's going to be using again. But she had the reputation of like, hey, there's this like wrestler on the indies. She's doing funny stuff. There was stuff with Orange Cassidy, the tampon stuff. I'm going real back there. Hopefully that doesn't make a comeback. But signed to WWE and people were like, oh, yeah, okay, like she that's good. And like you said, other people come in and they're already lapping them. They're already like showing so much more improvement. And I don't think from day one to the last day, and this is just as a fan, as a viewer, I didn't see any improvement in actual in-ring wrestling. And like, bless her if she's been working her ass off and trying that out. But like, as a fan, I have never really found her wrestling to resonate with me. It has not connected with me as the audience. And I don't think I'm necessarily alone on that. So I feel for her, and I think she's got a personality, and I feel like she will easily land somewhere else in wrestling. Just from like personality, looks alone, people are always talking about, oh, the red hair. Like I think she'll be fine and land and maybe go back to indies and whatever. But I can't necessarily say she'll be missed on NXT. She feels like she's been in NXT for a long time and no improvement. I'd say that's probably why they were like, yeah, okay, I think we can cut ties here.
Yeah, so. I think she's been there about 5-6 years as well.
Wow.
I thought she was one of the worst wrestlers on the whole roster, to be honest. And she'd been there. She was essentially one of the veterans in NXT, and there were new girls who already looked better than her. Yeah, I don't know. I don't see much personality in her. Yeah, she pulled a tampon out her ding dong, her thingy. On the indies, that doesn't equate to person. Not a ding dong, you know. I'm sick, okay?
Yeah, you are in the head, buddy.
Yeah, no, I don't think pulling a tampon out equates having a personality. I thought she was dog shit on the mic. I think she needs to improve in every single aspect if she's gonna continue in this. And that sounds harsh, but you were in development for 5 years at the biggest company in the world. You have all these resources at your disposal. And she couldn't talk and she couldn't wrestle. She looks great. Find something else to do, maybe. I don't know. I don't know where I'd see Gigi Dolan. I have no interest in watching her anywhere. So indies, I guess, like get better is all I'd say.
Again, like wrestling, there's so much more than just actual in-ring wrestling. And we've seen people make careers of, it's all the stuff outside of the wrestling that, you know, does it. But I can't say I've enjoyed a lot of her stuff that I've watched. We watch a lot of NXT. We cover it, and I've covered over the years, and I can't say I've been necessarily enjoying watching a lot of her matches. So I hope she can go again. Maybe the chain's off from WWE, does light fires under people's asses and makes them work that extra bit harder. So maybe this could be the case, but I'm sure she'll land somewhere and be fine. But we'll never forget what WWE has taken from me, because I might not miss watching Gigi Dolan wrestle, but my favorite wrestling entrance of all time is now gone and forgotten. So Chemical X, may you rest in peace. Wait, Tatum is still here. Tatum's not released.
Yeah, no.
So they're saying there's a chance. All right.
Chris Jones saying it's a bit surprising that JC Jane survived the cut, really thinking about it. I think JC, though, is similar to Fallon. Like, I feel she's pretty strong in ring, and she can be in NXT to help some of these other girls get up to another level. I mean, I'd love to see Fallon, especially. I'd love to see them main roster one day, but you do need more experienced wrestlers in NXT to kind of help the younger talent. And I'd put JC in that category, because I think over the years we've really seen her improve and become a very solid, like, worker in the ring there.
I just think back to all what was the what was the name? Toxic Attraction. Like, I hated it. Like, I hated it then, but I think looking back, I hate it even more.
Yeah.
Like what we were put through. And
Fatal Influence is a much better version of it, I think. And maybe they're waiting for Jasmine to be at a level where they can move the group up. I don't know, but I'm glad JC's safe. Ryan saying Gigi's probably going to join Zachary Wentz in TNA. Don't get me started on couples in wrestling. Like, I hate it. Sign him because we're married. Like, fuck that. Like,
I mean, there's a lot of wrestlers that were released, and like, there's potential that some of these people were in relationships with wrestlers who are still signed to the company. And I know that makes things awkward and weird. I could only imagine, but like, there are instances of some of these wrestlers are in relationships with superstars who are still with the company. So, yeah.
Braden, do you want to go to work with your girlfriend?
No, but it's it's wrestling. It's wrestling. Like, I hear your argument, but at the same time, like, you don't do this tour. You don't do this lifestyle. You don't know how it is. So maybe they do enjoy working with their spouses. Maybe they don't trust the rest of the boys on the road when they're not on the road. Like, you don't know. So like, doesn't sound like a healthy
relationship.
No, but like, there is reasons. Like, if your boyfriend's working at a wrestling company and you just got released by a wrestling company, there's probably a high chance he says, "Babe, come, I can get you in."
But as someone signing the contract, that is nothing that, like, if I was signing these contracts, I'm not going, "Oh, well, she's married to one of my hires, then I should hire her." Like I'm
not saying
talent,
that.
No,
like that. Like, it happens. So like, you could probably put money on Gigi Dolan showing up in TNA. Like, that sounds like a layup right there. So it's like, you might not like it, but it's so common that, like, yeah, of course it's gonna happen. And if someone's like on the indies, maybe people follow suit. Maybe they go work with them or go travel with them or whatnot. But you will see people who are in relationships show up where their partners are 100%. They got some leeway. If your girlfriend's like, I need a job, I don't know where I'm going to wrestle, and you wrestle somewhere, either hey, maybe I'll put in a word, or she asks, hey, could you help me out? I need bills to pay, motherfucker. Like, there's a chance that you will see her show up in TNA. Someone's asking in the chat, what's next for Cora Jade? Rewind like 2 minutes, and you can hear us talk about that.
And then Gallus. Gallus.
Man, take my life, but don't take my Gallus, please. Pure Gallus right here. Oh.
Like, they've been around a long time. So, yeah. I never saw these guys main roster bound, to be honest, so I don't know.
Yeah. Like, we love shitting on these guys, but they train The Rock for WreslteMania, and this is the thanks they get. That and the cheapest bottle of Terramana.
They got the worst Terramana.
Wasn't even the Reposado, Rock. What the fuck? That was the writing on the wall, bro. If The Rock said, guys, I love you, thank you so much for training with me, here's a Blanco bottle of my Terramana, I'd be like, I guess he didn't really think much of our training then, because there's like other tiers to that tequila. But we had I want to say we have a soft spot for Gallus, but I don't think we really do. I think these guys will be absolutely fine on the indies. These guys can go back across the pond and be like superstars to some people, because it's like, hey, we were in WWE for so long and now we're not. So hopefully that definitely is something I see them doing. I still see them pursuing wrestling. They were training with The Rock. They were doing a lot of training with like Evolve and NXT, and I think that's like something that is down their alley as well, as like training and maybe running their own promotions or schools or whatnot. So I thought, from what we got to see of them on NXT, I've actually followed these guys a lot longer than NXT, from like days of ICW and stuff like that. So it was cool to see them in WWE, but I can't say anything in their run necessarily blew me away. Like if you were to, gun to your head, Davie, like best moments of Gallus in WWE NXT, like there's a few matches, maybe some tag matches, but
probably Fraxium, and like
yes,
I feel there were times where we were like, you know what, not biggest Gallus fans, but that was good. I feel that's come out of our mouths a few times, but gun to head, pinpointing a specific match. I don't know. I don't know how it will be for these guys, because their visa will be attached to their WWE contract, so they won't necessarily be able to work in the States right away.
But they'll be fine. They were in this company for so long. They were getting paid to train with The Rock. Like hopefully these boys are, they should be okay. But
we've seen grizzled young vets struggle, and I think they've got a much higher ceiling than these guys do. I think that they'll be able to work regularly in the UK, but the money they'd have been making in WWE, I don't know. I see it being a little tougher for these guys. I see them wrestling, but they're not going to be paid in Scotland what they've been able to make,
of course.
over in the US. So I don't know. Like I would have thought like they'd be okay, but the fact that grizzled young vets have been kind of struggling, and it makes me wonder with these three, because they never really connected with me. I didn't like the whole, even their pose. Look at them just looking like shit, folding their arms. I don't know. I'd be curious. They're definitely going to be working. They're going to be finding work, but whether it's going to be in a major promotion, I'm not really sure.
Oh, that's true. Would a company put them again, going to a TNA, an MLW, an AEW, would they want a Scottish stable? But these guys aren't the most exciting. They're not the most interesting group. But if you were to go back to your ICWs or your other independents, especially in Scotland or the UK, I think they'll be fine. I think they'll be still wrestling and training and all that stuff.
Darren said Gallus could have been heaters for Drew McIntyre. I feel if Drew didn't have such a great year on the mic as he did, I think that could have been a possibility. I think they could have had a go with it. And I think it's maybe even something if Vince was still around. Vince would have liked the idea of that. But I think Drew has just been so much just fire on his own that he didn't really need heaters. I mean, look at
Drew and look at them.
So I don't know. I don't know. These guys will be working, but whether to the level, I'm not sure.
Pour one out, because we would go to their bar, right? Every NXT,
big daddies,
or they were drinking and just having a good old time. And I'm sad I never got one of the Gallus footy jerseys, but maybe they'll start to sell them on the indies. But I think they'll be fine. Maybe I do have a soft spot for Gallus, but I can't say I'll necessarily miss them too much. But I really do wish them the best. And remember Wolfgang. Wasn't he the bartender gimmick in the UK tournament, right? He was just the lad. He was the guy serving drinks. And then it doesn't help. We have an Irish friend here in Toronto who looks exactly like him. So we always call him Wolfgang, and he doesn't know what we're talking about.
Chris Jones being meaner than me. They were nicking a living. Wolfgang especially was probably thankful he lasted this long. I hope they saved their money.
Yeah. Well.
Beer's cheaper in Scotland, so...
Britt Rez is dead, right? Isn't that how that goes? I think they'll be fine. I think these guys, they'll revive Britt Rez is what these guys will do somehow, some way. So Yeah. Cheers to Gallus. Pure Gallus.
Eddie Thorpe.
Oh, where do we even begin? This guy just feels like he's been shoved in our faces for the last few months, and we weren't sure why, because he was not really stepping up to the occasion. And then it's like, we just cut him. So yeah, that's how it works in NXT. It's a brutal show sometimes, because they'll just force feed someone and then realize, oh, actually, we don't even want him working here, even though we were putting him in TV. Big profile stuff.
I think you kind of like, because I've seen people on like Twitter and stuff going like, Eddie Thorpe, he was just in the world title scene. Cora Jade, she was just in a 4-way for the women's world title and stuff. I'm like, yeah, it's they're gonna try with these people, and if it doesn't work, they're gonna cut you. And I think Eddie, we've been saying since day one, it's like we want more. There's something missing, and I think the heel character tapped into something with him, but just he wasn't dynamic enough as a performer, and I think in ring was quite boring. So
yeah, again, we've seen some of his stuff when he was Carl Fredericks, right? He's from the dojo. He was in New Japan. He's always just, I've seen him job out and stuff, but then he comes here and a completely new name, like a new gimmick, like leaning new tattoos, new gimmick DJ, embracing the Native American stuff, which I think is super cool. But he has had more of a like character in the last while, because it's the push that they gave him. And I just don't think it was necessarily connecting. But at the same time, I think the last, let's just say like 6 months or whatever it was, when they were focusing a lot more on him, that might not have ended up working for him here in WWE, and them realizing, we don't really want to like invest anymore in this guy. I think the last 6 months might have been the best for him now, because there's other companies that can go, but look what he did in NXT. So I imagine that Eddie Thorpe continues in wrestling. I've already seen him tweet about DJing. He says, I don't think DJing is part of my 30-day complete. So I'm sure he's going to compete. So I'm sure he's going to DJ and stuff and lean into that. Like, that was something that we complained about, is they NXT, like Degrassi hide him essentially. Like, oh, look at this Native American DJ. And then it's like a shot of him in some fucking corner of a room pretending it's a rave. When like now, if he's like, on the independents, maybe he actually DJs at certain wrestling events on the indies. Maybe he's actually leaning into that we didn't get the real side of him on NXT TV. So I know we didn't necessarily love him in NXT, but another sink or swim like situation, that if he wants to keep doing this, there's a chance that he could improve and could prove people wrong. But from the most part, he was pretty boring. So I'm being nice, but like, yeah, he was pretty boring. And every time he did get a big opportunity, it didn't really hit. So I don't know.
I'd say maybe indie, MLW, New Japan kind of
go
run,
back to
maybe.
New Japan. Wow.
Maybe. Yeah. But yeah, I don't see TNA or AEW for him. I see
he had like that one,
MLW.
Like, remember the feud with Dijak? Never forget. Yeah. Oh, we're going
Whipping
down memory lane. Yeah, whip the apple pie, the whip the tree kind of thing. Very, very good. That is what I'll always remember from this guy's WWE NXT run, is the tree, the sacred tree, and then cutting promos in the dark, in the forest.
Yes.
Yeah, good stuff.
Riley Osborne, just the chase you casualties continue. As we're just down a Thea and Andre left of the original crop.
Oh, man, Chase U, like, I guess it was a sign, because Chase U came back this week on NXT for those who missed it, and this guy wasn't there. So that was definitely the writing on the wall. When I read that he was released, I was like, oh, I thought he was already, since like Duke was, and Chase U has not been a thing for quite a while. This guy we haven't necessarily seen a whole lot of. He could do a cool tope con hilo, could do some cool wrestling moves, but he was only in this Chase U story, and nothing else really worked for him. Remember, they tried the stuff with him and the Thea and the relationship stuff, and even that was pretty brutal.
Even that story, they had one date and were like, there's no chemistry here. Let's just abandon that story and make them friends.
Yeah. So I'm sure he'll find work, and like his wrestling was fine, but not enough that we could sink our teeth into really like see what he was capable of. But so far, I can't. Yeah, he's pretty like forgettable.
I think he's going to really have to like work hard if he wants to stay in this, because again, he's British, so he's going to have to go back into the UK. He doesn't have a name the level of Gallus either. Like, I'm sure so many people were going, sorry, Riley who? When they saw that name, because he wasn't even really featured in NXT a great deal. So he's going to have to go back working your British Indies and really try to build himself up again to have a shot if he's going to be stateside.
Yeah, 100%. And maybe that's the best for him. What if he comes out of it being like a high flyer in the indie scene?
Like, he's young as well, if I remember right. 27, maybe not.
And going back to relationships, but I saw the photo of his partner who was recently released, Bea Priestley, and Cora Jade. So I guess they were all like housemates or friends, because they posted the other day like, oh, we have a lot of free time this weekend, considering like that was their way of saying we're all like released essentially.
We're all done.
Yeah.
This one I'm pretty sad about. Jakara Jackson.
I mean, Davie, we said it really. We maybe have jinxed it by talking about how odd it was when Lash Legend was like, hey, let's split up, gang. Let's Scooby-Doo this shit. Let's split up. And I knew right away. I was like, oh, no, don't answer your phone, anybody from this group. And you asked the question, but what's going to happen about Jakara? And we got the answer. They let her go. And we'll see. I mean, there's so much wrestling out there. If she wants to pursue it, a TNA, an MLW, women of wrestling. I've watched WoW every week, and there is ex-NXT people coming into WoW and vice versa. So there's something there that she could easily come into. There's Stardom. There's, lots of different opportunities if she chooses to continue and pursue this. But very, very sad. And what was even funnier, I'm not saying this was funny, but like what is funny is Lash Legend this week on Twitter was like, like, say it ain't so, metaphor. Yeah. And everyone's like, girl, it was your idea on TV. You're the one who said it. At least your character did. But like, you shouldn't have agreed to that, because everyone's like, yo, why'd you break up the metaphor? Look, now Miss Jackson's released. It's all your fault, Lash.
Yeah, Jakara was kind of unproven in singles. And I think that was something where we were saying it's going to be a struggle for her to see what she's capable of. I like the tag team. I like the unit of Metaphor. I think Jakara does have personality, and I think she showed improvements in ring. But as I said, it's in the tag scene. If they paid more attention to a tag division, I think there could have been something possibly with them. She's someone, it's going to depend if she wants to continue. But I hope she does. And maybe someone like WoW would be cool for her. But I'd like to see her continue this, because I think there is something there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they didn't release Lash, so you could potentially see them maybe wanting to focus a bit on her. But Jakara, Miss Jackson, wasn't the only member of Metaphor that was released.
Oro Mensah,
the main man, Aura.
Yeah, which was weird, because he had a pretty fun feud earlier, like tail end of last year with Ethan Page. But kind of led to nowhere with that, and he disappeared, and now has been on Evolve and that kind of thing. He's someone else. I think is he Swedish? I think. So he's good. Yeah, he's Swiss, from Switzerland. So that's going to be another thing. Like, it's going to be difficult to visa-wise to see what he does. I think he was working in the UK before coming to WWE, if I'm right. But he's talented. He's good. So I see indies and stuff for him, probably. Maybe TNA.
Yeah, and anytime he talked, he always had this like swagger about him, and his wrestling was pretty good actually from what we've seen. And it just feels like maybe something didn't connect. They didn't know what to do. Maybe certain things they wanted to do didn't work. I'm not quite sure, but another, again, sink or swim. Like, if he wants to grind and see what he can do, maybe the cream can rise to the crop. Because I do remember liking some of his wrestling, like that we've seen.
I'm just looking. He was doing a bunch of like WXW and
nice.
Yeah, some like European promotions mainly.
So maybe you could do some more of that as well. But
yes,
yeah, but that feud, Ethan Page, the metaphor stuff is really the only stuff that comes to mind of Oro in NXT. So still kind of maybe they just cut. I can't recall what he was doing before this. He was just there, or NXT UK, right?
NXT UK,
yeah.
Big body Javier Bernal.
Oh man.
I mean, we haven't seen this guy for quite a while, have we?
I did forget about this guy. I forgot about this guy, and I was like, "Oh yeah, this guy. Yeah, what was his gimmick again?
Wasn't he trying to sell like a calendar, like in May, and like a Christmas album in March?
Is that what his
stuff
gimmick
like that?
Was? He's a
like,
salesman.
No, like he was always trying to sell like his merchandise, but it was always
Death
like
of a salesman,
out of date and stuff like that.
Yeah, I just thought he was big body. He had
Yeah.
he had a big body.
Sure.
He doesn't really have a big body. He's not.
No,
that big.
again, that was like he was delusional, right? Like that was his whole thing.
His gimmick was he was Delulu. Got it. We didn't really see a lot of this guy, to be honest. Like that, you just described his entire run to me, and I don't know.
And that was about a year ago, I feel.
Yeah. We'll see. Where
AEW World Champion. There we go. He's going to be the one to beat Mox. He's going to come in, turn the Owen final into a triple threat, and will main event All In. He
just looks like a normal bloke, you know. He just looks like your friend. When your
sure
friend's like,
yeah,
I'm sure he's a nice guy. I don't want to be. I'm being pretty nice on this podcast. I'm being pretty fair. If someone listening is like, you're being too nice, I am. But like, these are real people. But like, this guy doesn't scream pro wrestler to me. Like, no disrespect, but like, he's a guy that I remembered today, just now. I didn't even. That's how bad. I didn't even know he was on this list because I was like, oh right. So maybe he'll continue. Maybe he's like, you know, maybe he has been wrestling and training, and like he didn't get the opportunity to shine, and maybe he wants to, and maybe he'll fight for that, and we'll see. But I can't even say if he was good or bad, because his only thing I can remember is him getting squashed and trying to sell us calendars, which may or may not even have actually happened. I'm just going to take your word for it.
Yeah. And finally, Shotzi Blackheart.
Oh, yeah. Damn. You know, Shotzi will always be remembered for, was it Evolve? Suicide dive into the chairs. And then they were like, fuck it, you're signed. And then they realized, maybe we still there's some work to be done with her. And she was in NXT. She had a tank. I think she understands like the wrestling business, but when it comes to the actual wrestling, I don't think she's necessarily improved all that great. She's really good at like the catchphrases and the merchandise and the entrances and the gear and like everything really, but the wrestling has always connected. So I have a soft spot for Shotzi, and I know she does a lot of like social media, and think when we would have the Halloween Havocs and she would always be the host, and like that's, I think, something that I could definitely, if wrestling is not something that she continues in, which I think she will continue in wrestling, she's got definitely some backups with like the ghost hunting and the YouTube, and like she does like all this other stuff already on the side, and like there's a whole other world, like the horror movie genre and like the drive-in stuff or whatever that is. Like she totally fits that avenue, and I think she would easily find opportunities.
She's got a huge personality, a great look, but I'd say similar to Gigi and Cora, just never really showed any signs of improvement in ring, which was a shame, because she was someone we were looking at like she could be a huge star. Like I remember right from that Evolve show that we did review way back when. I could see her in TNA or something like that. I do think she's got a name to her, and I think she owns the name Shotzi Blackheart, because she was using that on the Indies, which can help her as well.
They shortened her name, right? They got rid of Blackheart in WWE. Like she was on the main roster, but then like pulled away. Every time I
moved back to NXT, and
she was always dropping out, right?
I could see her having a career outside WWE. TNA is where I'd kind of put her, I think.
Absolutely. I think she fits in there. Like your Jody Threats and all that kind of stuff. Like that's your dream team right there. The two badass.
Yeah, I could see her on Demand Lucha and stuff like that. I can see her working indies and things like that. I think she'd kill on the indies. Actually, I think she's insanely popular. So
that's what I'm saying.
I think she'd do okay.
Everything but her actual wrestling, I'm a big fan of. Like people support her, and I think she's got a pretty big following and everything. And what was the stuff about her dad, right? Remember that was the whole story?
She's raised by her dad.
Yeah, raised by my dad, and the tank and Robert Stone's foot, and good memories with Shotzi Blackheart. And I don't know, maybe she'll come back to WWE down the line. And in a hosting, again, she seems like she's really into that stuff as well, and ghost hunting and all that. So I wonder if they continue, how many episodes of that WWE ghost hunting thing they filmed, because she's been filming a bunch of stuff, and I wonder if they'll continue to release that.
Yeah.
But you said that was the last one, Davie. You're forgetting about maybe the biggest and most important one on this list. You forgot someone. Danny Palmer. Yeah.
Oh man. What's your favorite Danny Palmer match, Braden?
Her
versus Twitter.
Her versus the Weather Machines, I think, is my favorite match. Someone we didn't see a whole lot of, I think had more of an athletic background, with some appearances where we're like, okay, she's got this athletic, almost like the Sol Ruka. I think they were teamed together or paired together a little bit, but Sol Ruka then just exploded and went a whole other next level. And I think Danny was still on that level. And I think, if I'm remembering, there was some injuries and things. And since this has come out, she has posted that she's retiring from wrestling altogether. It sounds like. So, So I blame the Weather Machines on that, though. So, but she's there. She's calling it right there. She's like, hey, I think she's mentioning in this Instagram post that she's with Tank from Hank and Tank, and that she thanks WWE because she got to meet her love in WWE, and she's giving up wrestling. And I mean, it's working out for him right now with tag titles and stuff. So
yeah,
there you go. Some instances, certain people are like, I'm done. That was it. I don't want to do this anymore. And you call a spade there. So yeah.
All right. So that's the releases. Then there was a tweet from Brandon Thurston earlier today saying Vince McMahon appears to be resisting or delaying full compliance with discovery in the WWE shareholder lawsuit that alleges he predetermined the M&A process with Endeavor. Plaintiffs on Wednesday asked the court to order him to compel. What's that in English?
Yeah, explain like I'm 5, please.
So from what I understand, and this really isn't our, I don't want to spend too long on this because this isn't really our area, but WWE shareholders are having a class action lawsuit against WWE and Vince McMahon because they felt that when they were putting the company up for sale, they didn't really look around enough and have much of a bidding process. And basically, it had already been in the works to go with Endeavor because it was a way of keeping Vince in power. And when you know that potentially, Saudi Arabia, let's say for an instance, were potential investors or looking to buy, would have probably spent more than the, was it 9 billion? Was it that it ended up being sold for? That, and obviously the higher it sells for, the more money that shareholders make. That's my understanding of it.
Right.
So they're suing because they didn't feel there was the proper process going through, and now it is going to court, and Vince is kind of resisting, compelling, going along or whatever.
Old rich white guys mad at other rich white guys for doing rich white guy stuff, and yeah. I mean, is this what something is gonna eventually burn Vince? Is this again? This sounds like they're suing. It's against WWE as well, right? It's not.
I think it's just. I think things like the investigation into the original sexual harassment stuff was described as a sham when the internal investigations were happening. Obviously, the Janelle Grant stuff is still ongoing. We've now had in the last couple of weeks the more people come forward, more John Does in the Ring Boy scandal. They are all kind of linked because it was Vince trying to keep power, and there's probably a lot of other investors who were like, yes, we'll buy your company. We'll buy it for 11 billion, let's say. But we want Vince McMahon completely out of it. So Vince going for the one that was allowing him to stay in power.
Which then he was gone pretty quickly after that anyways. Like,
yes, but had other stuff have not come forward, that wouldn't have been the case, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Wild. Of course, Vince McMahon's gonna.
So hopefully, like, things seem to be stacking up a little bit against them. But I suggest listen to Pollock and Thurston to get better insight into that.
Like, will this guy ever face actual prosecution? Probably not. Like, this guy's gonna die before he goes to jail, right? Like,
I hope so.
You hope that he dies or goes to jail?
I don't care. Yes. We talked about Raw on Up Next this week, talking about all the Seth Rollins, Bron Breakker, Paul Heyman stable, all of that. So go back and listen to that if you want to hear our thoughts on that. Thought was a bit of a nothing SmackDown this week. Very much lacking stars. You know, you didn't have Cody, you didn't have Cena. Owens is injured, and etc. So you kind of had Randy trying to sell that feud on his own. LA Knight, Damian Priest opening the show. We now know it's going to be a four-way at Backlash. We'll go into previews for Backlash in a second. And then, but maybe because we didn't talk about last week's, and I don't know if you had anything in particular you wanted to talk about this week from SmackDown, but I was thinking let's talk about Aleister Black and his sort of introduction into WWE.
Yeah, I was like, woke up today, had my coffee made. It's like, I haven't watched SmackDown. I had to catch up on some wrestling. So it's like, I got to watch SmackDown. Let me see what happened on SmackDown. And I load up to see what's fired up on SmackDown this week. And I see the graphic, Miz versus Aleister Black. I went, nope. Not watching that. So I haven't watched that because I will not. If I can choose to go through my week without watching The Miz, I'm going to choose that. It's 2025. You know what? Time is money. Time is short. We're only on this earth for so long, and I just don't have any time in 2025 to watch The Miz if I don't have to. So I'm assuming it was a 5-star classic, but that's all I have to say about that. However, last week on SmackDown was an actual 5-star classic because that TLC match.
Sorry, wait. Let's
you missed that.
Talk about why you're not interested in Aleister Black while we're on the case.
Just
Black,
like
he has just gone into the company.
It's I like this guy, and I hopefully it can turn around. And I think they missed the boat with him the first time around in WWE, and then his AEW run was really bizarre and everything. But I hope they can turn him around because at one point I was totally invested in this guy, especially his NXT run of like, wow, this guy could be a huge deal. And I don't think it worked out that way. And now there's this, like, I don't know, stink on him for me, just of like from the past few years. And like, I don't know, his social media and him over explaining things that don't make any sense and this and that. And I don't know, not taking pinfalls and all that stuff. I don't know. It weighed in on me. I'm like, the interest is not there. It's going to take a lot to me to bring me back. And then they're like, yeah, his first matches with The Miz. I'm like, yeah, I just don't really care. I'm sure that this is just the first step. I'm not saying it's over. Look, they're pairing him with The Miz. No, of course not. Like, this is just a way to bring him in. And I think that this time around, done properly, I think he could come off as a really big star. This second run, this retribution run here, I shouldn't use that word, but I think it could work out for him. I think he could be coming out of this as the big star that we projected him to be all those years ago. And it's going to take a while, though, to get me fully interested, invested. You can't just be doing these kicks. You gotta, there's other stuff to this. There's layers to this. And I don't know.
I think he's going to be Andrade in 3 months, to be honest.
Yeah, it very well could be.
Like, he was never a big deal on the main roster. And I think most of these fans, like, he hasn't had a huge reaction when he's come out. And I don't think, like, I thought the match was fine. Ryan in the chat said they had a really fun match. I wouldn't necessarily go that far, but I thought the match was fine. But I just think if you want to have him make an impact, I think you should have had him against a bigger star, to start with. Maybe even I've heard people say, like, I know Cody hasn't been on TV, but just redo that. Have him come out and take out Cody or something. Like, if you position him against a top guy, you're going to see him more at that level. Instead, you're taking out the Miz, who is, you know, solid hand, been around forever, but it's not exciting. And I don't know. I think he's got cool offense. He's got a cool look. I've been so over Aleister Black for such a long time. And I put it mainly down to him, to be honest.
Yeah.
So
that's fair.
We'll see. I can't see where you're going to slot him, to be honest. So I don't know. But yeah, you were going to bring up the TLC match from last week.
Yeah, I skimmed through SmackDown and I didn't find really anything too substantial from it. The plus is that Fatal 4-Way at Backlash should be pretty good, considering. So, like, I think that was we did the 4-Way IC title, but we were saying around that time, like, hey, the US title should maybe be multi-man, and I guess they just didn't want to do that. But that should be like a really fun match, and 4-Way matches lately and multi-man matches and all that have been super like hitting lately, and I think that will be the case for that Backlash match. But nothing this week. And then I watched the Randy promo. I was pretty bored by that. It's like, okay, you're doing without Cena there, and at least he's got a reason to bring the punt back. He was gearing up to punt Kevin, and he didn't get to do it, and he wasn't going to punt poor Joe Hendry at Mania, so he saved that punt for Cena. But will we see it is the other thing. So I don't care about the build to Cena and Randy, because when it comes to Backlash, it's like, yeah, I'm going to watch it. It could be really bad. It could be really great. It probably won't be really great, but we got to see it. It's the last time. And I've seen all their other fucking hundreds of matches, so I guess I got to watch the last one. So they've got me hooked on that one. And I think that's just another like layup there. But I didn't think much of this SmackDown. I was skipping through everything, so that's maybe not the best.
There really wasn't anything. Like, we'll go into the previews, and if anything comes up in the preview for Backlash, but there's really nothing. Yeah, Chris Jones saying it amazed me how much of a nothingness Rey Fenix came across as.
True.
Which was weird. Just they got quite a bit of time, but I didn't feel that match really went anywhere.
But last week, that TLC match, I feel like we missed that pocket of talking about it. Was just so awesome, man. Like, one of the best TLC matches since the original ones. And I thought all the teams brought it. They clearly had the, wow, we're not booked on WreslteMania chip on our shoulder. And they went out there and put on a SmackDown classic, if you will go down as one of the best matches on SmackDown history, in my opinion. It was so much fun. Absolutely. All the guys, like, they hit all the marks. They knew exactly what they were doing. And the cherry on top was that cast from the dude's foot or whatever. Like,
the prosthetic limb.
Oh man, like I loved it. I loved it so much. So I think this will be talked about as one of the best matches of the year. And it was on TV. So
yeah, what I loved about it was I thought they did stuff we haven't really seen in TLC matches before. And I thought they sounds silly, but they were all trying to win. I think we've seen so many ladder matches over the years where it's, hey, shall I climb this so I can then jump off of it through a table and get a reaction? I didn't feel like that. I felt like everything everyone was trying to do was to put the other person out. And they were climbing to try and get the title whenever there was a chance to get it. And then they'd be pulled off. So it's like, all right, I'm going to backdrop you on the edge of this chair. And just, there was a lot of unique stuff, I thought. And it was paced so well. I loved that it was commercial free. Probably wouldn't have got as much time if it was on Mania. I thought it was great. All six men were awesome.
Yeah, if it was on Mania, it wouldn't have gotten that long, but it was one of my favorite ladder matches in a long, long time. And like TLC, that's like TLC 2 to me is the special one in my heart. And like to say this one is like up there with that is crazy, but it is how I feel. So I'll stand by it. This was a really awesome match, and Street Profits, DIY, like the Guns, like everyone fit their place in this match, and it was so much fun. I think the rewatch value on this one will stand very, very high. When we first started our Patreon, one of our first shows, I think, was Best Match Ever TLC, where we like looked at the original TLC matches, the ladder matches from the original tag teams that were doing this, and made them famous because it was like something we connected with as fans when we grew up. We, as friends, we were like, wow, don't you remember these epic matches? And it's funny because we still watch these matches back and we still talk about these matches. And I think this one deserves to be called a TLC because WWE hoard that name out. They fucking wrecked that name. They were like TLC this, TLC that, stairs matches this, fuck off with all these years of like using that name. And finally the name had some prestige added back into it.
Yeah.
You know, I felt like that. And I don't know if that's what the guys were going for, but as a fan for all these years and
it feels like a while since the last TLC match, since the pay-per-views of TLC, right?
Yeah, good. Like I hated when they made it a pay-per-view.
Me too.
Right? Yeah, so
I love Montez climbing the inside of the ladder as well. I thought that was very cool.
Some crazy stuff in this match. Again, it's crazy. Everyone was doing some awesome stuff, and deserves all the praise right now. So like WWE, as much as like there's stuff I don't like, especially coming from WrestleMania to the show itself to post-Mania, there's still so much other stuff going on. Like as much as maybe you hated, like I personally really disliked the main event and the finish of John Cena, Cody Rhodes, Travis Scott. I don't think I'm necessarily on an island to think that. You could have walked out of that league like, oh my God, this is fucking awful. But on the same show that opened was the women's match. That was incredible. So like there's, you know, it's a variety show is what it always is. And it's always been like that. But like there's still some really great stuff right now. And that, as much as SmackDown sucked this week, last week was all-timer match, in my opinion.
Well, shall we preview Backlash? We have John Cena versus Randy Orton.
Yeah, we said it. Like we've been doing the Champ is Here, this show we've been doing once a month where we look back at all the Cena runs, and we've watched just recently a whole lot of Randy Orton versus John Cena, including the Iron Man, the Hell in a Cell, all of it. So it's like kind of fresh in my brain. So it's like almost like we did this on purpose to gear ourselves up for Cena Orton one more time. So I'm not expecting a lot from this, which means it'll probably be better than what I think it's going to be, if that makes sense. But I like, as long as they can get that kind of good, you know, feeling, like get the buzz, get the spectacle of the match. I'm not expecting much actually in ring, but I'm still looking forward to it. I think they could create something pretty cool. We're gonna get that RKO counter, the FU, the AA into the RKO. They're gonna do that one. What are some other things they always do? Pyro? Is Randy gonna use pyro in this match?
Well, it needs to be Cena, doesn't it?
Yeah, true.
Should be Cena trying to explode Orton.
Or do we get the punt like Randy said, or are we just saying all these things? In reality, they're going to wrestle for 5 minutes and Travis Scott's going to come out for the.
I heard Travis Scott's been banned from Backlash.
He's banned from Backlash?
I'm pretty sure Triple H said Travis Scott is banned from Backlash.
He should be banned from all future WWE appearances.
Yeah. It hasn't been announced yet, but I'm assuming Logan Paul versus Jey Uso for the World Heavyweight title as well.
Yeah, I'd say I'm not super into that. I'm happy Jey Uso got his flowers, and I think we can eventually catapult this title onto Seth or even Braun to really like get some juicy, meaty stuff. And Jay, you got your moment and your run, but I think it's going to be a short-lived title run. I'm not saying he's losing it to Logan Paul, but
no.
I can't. Well, this is not an interesting.
I think
match.
Logan Paul is the new Kane, right? Like it's it's to get Jay a win before he
first
drops
title
to Seth, and he should drop to Seth at the next pay-per-view, I think. We have Lyra Valkyria versus Becky Lynch for the Women's Intercontinental Championship.
Yeah, I think this is potentially could be a great wrestling match. Becky is the superstar and trying to give this rub to Lyra. We've seen them work together in the past, and hopefully it can work. I think Lyra, the wrestling is really good, but everything else, there's something there. And I think Becky, again, given the rub here, could potentially be some star-making stuff for Lyra, and they clearly have a lot of stock in her. So I think this could be a show.
You see Becky winning this?
I see Becky winning it, and then we get like a rematch or another rematch down the line, like a feud, you know?
Have Lyra chasing it. Yeah.
Yeah. Becky should cheat and steal it.
Becky should cheat. Yeah. But I think this hopefully is designed to be a real like coming out party for Lyra and actually get people to see what maybe we saw in NXT
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm looking for this is probably the wrestling match I'm most looking forward to on the show. Pat McAfee versus Gunther.
This is the wrestling match I'm looking forward to on the show. I feel like if you were to just say, hey, Pat McAfee's facing Gunther, I'd be like, oh my God, really? And I'm seeing the like negativity towards it. But Gunther just lost the title. What do you wanted to just rematch against Jay again? Like that was already a rematch. So like this is something to cool him off with while you can easily go back to Gunther being a champion or a killer. We're talking about how Seth should be strapped up here. It's like, yeah, well, Gunther can't be also cooking in the kitchen if Seth is, so cool him off. And this is a more like creative way to go about it. And I've said my piece about Pat. Like, I'm not a sports guy. I didn't know much about him until he was in NXT, but he's impressed. And I loved his promo on Raw promoting this match. So I think if we have not a whole lot, like, I feel like this could be better than we all think it will be. And I think this could potentially be my favorite match of the night when it's all said.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to this. But I was always looking forward to Shane O'Mac matches. And I feel this is that kind of deal. I'm going to go
the Goldberg thing, right? Like
that's what I was going to say. I think Pat McAfee via Goldberg is winning this match.
I want like all these NFL. I wish like there's still one more Raw, but like if this continues, like Gunther should be shitting on football. And that's how you bring Goldberg in, like the football thing. But I want like, John Elway showing up. I want Dan Marino showing up. I want all these people defending football's honor. And then it's Goldberg to finally be the one to, because that match has to happen. And I guess it won't be in Saudi this year. Maybe it'll be in Australia.
Well, there's still going to be a Saudi show, but yeah.
I thought they said this year there wasn't going to be one.
Oh, because the Rumble? They still do. They do two, though, don't they? Or have we already had one this year?
I don't think so.
There's normally two a year, so
yeah.
I imagine because Crown Jewel is late in the year, right?
So yeah, but this is now they've said it's in Australia, right? So
yes, but they're going to Saudi in January. That's what I'm saying. So that's
right.
There's probably still going to be a Saudi show.
I thought I had said that there. I thought I had said. I thought I was looking at people saying that it was just going to be the Rumble, which is 2026. But
okay,
it could easily add another one, but changing from Saudi to Australia is pretty big for all those peeps in Perth, right? Where they're going.
We'll see.
Pretty crazy.
Yeah, apparently there's Saudi Arabia in June, Night of Champions.
So, Night of Champions. Oh, okay.
So that would make sense. Like that would work if Goldberg's coming back now. That would be next month. So
wow, that's soon then.
That's
very soon.
Yeah, that was reported yesterday. So
okay, there you go.
We'll see.
Goldberg versus Gunther in Saudi next month.
Yeah, so that makes sense if Goldberg comes back
100%.
Next week, and then you've got a month to build that. And then we have Jacob Fatu defending the US title against LA Knight, Damian Priest, and Drew McIntyre.
Yeah, we kind of said I think this will just be a really fun match, and I do see Jacob Fatu retaining, but it gives something for all these guys to fight over, and it'll be pretty fun because all four are pretty good, and in a four-way, I'm sure we'll get some chaos.
It's actually a small moment, but something I really did enjoy on SmackDown this week was Nick Aldis making the match between Fatu, LA Knight, and Damian Priest. And Solo going, what? That's unfair. Like, if anyone should have a match, it should just be Drew McIntyre against him because he was screwed last week. So Nick Aldis then makes it a four-way, and Solo's going, what? Why are you doing this? Why are you trying to screw Jacob Fatu? And Nick just goes, I'm not trying to screw him. You are. So building the tension there. But yeah, Fatu needs to retain this, but I think it should be a pretty fun match.
Yeah, agreed.
I'm definitely higher on this card than most. It doesn't look like the greatest wrestling card in the world, but I think that honestly, Cena, Randy, McAfee, Gunther has my interest. I can get my fill of great wrestling at the AEW pay-per-view the next week, but I'm all right with this. For a Backlash card, I don't mind too much. I do miss having slightly longer cards and a couple more things on it.
They're going to add more to this. They're at least going to add one match to this. This is a four.
Oh, they'll add Logan and Jay, I imagine.
I do imagine they add 6 like they have 6 matches, I would say, or maybe
normally just have 5 for these and then 7 at the big shows. But...
And then 7 hours of commercials in between the whole thing.
Absolutely.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. I feel like I'm trying to be like positive on it. Again, I'm in the minority, but like Pat and Gunther is kind of interesting. So I'm kind of wanting to see where that goes. Again, I want him to do some of the Shane McMahon spots, get thrown off through glass, or I don't know, but what I'm picturing in my head, but I think it could be really fun. But since Mania of like the Cena stuff, I'm a little like down on the like Cena thing as a whole. And I'm just kind of like, okay, we're going through the hits with the Randy stuff. I imagine we do the same thing with CM Punk in a little bit, but I guess it won't be in Saudi. But my like going into this, I don't have high hopes of like, and then after watching it, because of that, hopefully I'll be coming out of it like, oh, I actually really enjoyed that. So expectations low, and we'll see how that takes me to after watching it.
Let's move over to AEW. Anything from Dynamite that caught your eye this week?
Yeah. You said you can get a lot of the stories and bigger characters on WWE, but I still find the wrestling as a whole lot more entertaining for me personally on the AEW front. And they did the most PWG match ever, maybe in AEW history, with that 8-man tag opener, which was amazing. I'm sure there's so much people out there who hate this. There's probably a lot of negativity because of I'm just PWG-esque factors in this match, but I loved it so much. I thought the Bucks coming back since last week with the old school Bucks style of wrestling matches that we're used to, and just adding in Kenny and the stuff teasing with Okada. I think Kevin Knight is just fallen into place perfectly in AEW programming. He's just so much fun to watch. He's like Spider-Man in there, literally. Like he's so entertaining. So I really that was probably my high. I really loved Hangman and so, but this was probably my highlight of AEW this week was this ridiculous 8-man. The stuff with the hair and Ricochet. I was laughing my ass off. Like it's exactly like the old PWG stuff, except this is with a bigger budget and on TV. So I think we're going towards more multi-man. Was Double or Nothing? They usually do the Anarchy or whatnot. So I'm kind of over that, but I really liked the wrestling on that from this match.
Yeah, it didn't do as much for me. I had fun with it, but nothing I'm going to really write home about.
I would watch this one back. It was really fun. Like I watched it and was dying at the tag spot with the arm. And then I'm on Twitter today and someone's like, wow, what is this stupidity? And it's like the old school tag team coming to the defense. Like, guys, that's my spot from like the 70s. What the fuck are you talking about? Like, so yeah, I really enjoyed it. What did you like from Dynamite this week?
I loved the main event with Hangman Page and Kyle Fletcher. I thought that was great. I think Kyle Fletcher just like keeps on improving. I think he's just one of the best in-ring in the company right now. I think the opening, like, it was fun. I had fun with it. Don't get me wrong. It was just a little too ha-ha for me. And I don't know what you're building. Like, the pay-per-view's not far away and we've got 2 matches announced so far. So that's kind of where I was with that. Like, I had fun with it, but yeah. Whereas the main event I thought was awesome. I think they're doing a great job with both Hangman and Fletcher. I like the teases of, the interactions with MJF and Hangman earlier in the night. And also how the Hurt Syndicate stuff kind of links to that. I get the feeling that maybe it's MJF who's going to cost Hangman the match at Double or Nothing. Because he's been kind of given the instructions, you've got to go out there and hurt someone. You've got to hurt people. I feel this could all tie in together to then have MJF taking out Hangman Page, which gets the approval of Lashley with MJF in the Hurt Syndicate, and therefore gives Will that win to go into All In. So I'm enjoying that stuff. I'm completely down still on all the Death Riders stuff. I think the cage sounds fun, but I don't expect Joe winning that, and I do expect it to lead to into another Anarchy in the Arena match.
Yeah, like they haven't announced it, but it's in a few. Oh, I guess it's in a. Oh, it's in a long time. Like that's in like 3 weeks still. So they'll probably announce something this week
It's
because that's
May 25th. Yeah.
Yeah, that's still a few weeks away.
Yeah.
So I think the match of Hangman. I mean, I definitely am. What does he call his fans? Fleshlights? Yeah,
Something
I think
like
we're both big fans of Fletcher, and seeing his like rise here is crazy. Like seeing how he stepped up to every occasion that we've seen. Like he's having match of the year candidates most nights, and I love the match with Hangman and Ospreay versus Hangman should be incredible. Like that is a dream match right there. And
yeah, very much looking forward to that.
That's the draw. Like no other match. Like that's it. That's the pay-per-view sold right there. Like I gotta watch to see what those guys do. But you're saying MJF cost Hangman. Does that mean Ospreay versus Mox in Texas? Like I do feel like the Cowboy should get the Texas spot, and you keep teasing Ospreay, and then you eventually pull that trigger in Wembley next year. Even though that's another year to go. But
yeah, I don't know. I feel it's Ospreay, just because I think it feels fresher. And it feels like a bit. I know we've seen both matches before, but in AEW we've seen Mox and Hangman quite a few times. They've been great every single time. Both absolutely work, and I'd be happy with both. You know, Hangman being on a bit of a redemption story and finding himself again, and being the main character of AEW to save AEW from the Death Riders makes a whole lot of sense as well. I'm just thinking more that kind of interaction with MJF and Hangman, and then Lashley encouraging MJF to hurt people. Not sure. I could see it going both ways, absolutely, which is good. I like going into a match not knowing, and when you go to a final and you go, well, I know who's winning this one, it does take a little bit out of something. But yeah, Hangman and Ospreay is definitely the thing I'm most looking forward to.
Yeah, that should be an incredible matchup. But I'm liking what I'm not liking the Death Riders, but I'm liking what they're doing with Hangman. So that's why I would lean towards the whole redemption story of the MJF saying it out loud, like, "Hey, the main character of AEW, like, yeah, he is," and we could go back to that. And I don't know, as long as we just finally get to it, and we know like Joe is not taking that title from Moxley in the cage. It should hopefully be a good match, but they're going to stretch this out till the biggest show and have their big
and there'll be interference, even though it's a cage. Like we know Wheeler Yuta's getting in that cage somehow.
Yeah, Wheeler Yuta is going to climb up, get in there, get beat up for sure. I'm super into some of the wrestling. Like I thought the wrestling was really heavy on Dynamite with that opening 8-man, which really wet my whistle. But then the main event with Fletcher and Hangman, I was like, oh yeah, cooking. So Fletcher, he's eventually going to be a world champion. Like this guy was killing it in that tag team, but in this last year, like he has stepped up to a lot of people. I think are like, oh wait, this guy is up there as one of the best doing it right now, and in such a short time. Like really impressive. So I hopefully he has a really big match at the pay-per-view as well. But yeah, I kind of want Ospreay to lose so that it's Hangman Moxley. I think I'd prefer that for Texas. You can just keep teasing the Ospreay thing for a while, and then finally you get that match. Whoever's champion and Ospreay chasing next year for Wembley, like that would be your big draw and story for that show in the main event. Ospreay. But
yeah, I just don't want Mox in that main event, to be honest. But at this stage, it is going to be him, right?
For this year's All In, yeah. But yeah. I mean, yeah.
Anything else from Dynamite?
Yeah, Tony Storm doing Tony Storm stuff, always hilarious. And she had the match with Yamashita, which I've seen some of her stuff in GCW, and she's pretty fun. So this is cool to kind of see this weird, not quite a forbidden door, but a forbidden window at least here into some like cross promotion. But I liked the match with Miyu, but my highlight from this whole segment was Tony Storm dancing in the ring to Jamie Hayter's theme song, which we have history of dancing to Jamie Hayter's theme song. So I think this was a nice little callback to these two and their history all those years ago. So they're teasing Mercedes and Tony and this and that, like the all-in matches, Tony and Mercedes, you would imagine, right?
I would have thought so, yeah.
Yeah. So
I really like Mercedes and Jamie as a direction. It would have felt bigger if Jamie felt like a big deal when she returned last summer into the company. It is an issue, certainly with the women's division, where you heat up someone and then you forget about it. It's like Tony Khan just can't juggle that many balls at once, right? But Jamie Hayter, we've been very high on in the past, and I think her and Mercedes should have pretty good chemistry, I would hope, and that's a match that sounds pretty good. But I don't see anyone but Mercedes winning that match.
Yeah, absolutely. That's just the biggest match you could do, and if you have your stadium show, Tony and Mercedes could kill it too. I'm loving it. I'm jumping ahead, but the promo on Collision, I'm trying to think. She did the stuff in the ring on Dynamite, but Collision, she cut the promo and then like walked through the back and everything, like going crazy. The whore awesome. You adore. Also, shout out Lady Frost. Frost. You know, all my homies love Lady Frost. We know we love her, and I'm waiting for her to finally get she's been featured in some matches like this in AEW, but every time she's so impressive. Like she's so much fun to watch. But
I'm here, I'm queer. She was fantastic. Like she just owns it. Like I don't know if she writes this stuff or if it's just it seems like it just comes off the top of her head, but she is so comfortable in this gimmick, and her just running around, going to the boardwalk. It works. And I think I saw someone online, and I kind of get it, describes it as The Undertaker. And I know that sounds weird because very different gimmicks, but it's the way The Undertaker lived the gimmick. And I think at first it was very jarring because it felt like Toni Storm was playing a character, whereas now she just completely is the character, and it works so well. I thought she was terrific on Collision in particular this week.
Yeah, she's going to protect the character. She's going to stay in character for just like Taker did. And then finally, I don't know. I love what I think at first it was like, oh, okay, she's doing this gimmick. But then now, like maybe a year plus removed, maybe more than that, it's like, oh, wait, now it's just become one of this iconic wrestling characters, dare I say. But like facts, like it's such a good character. And hearing, what was it, the Bailey interview with Chris Van Vliet, I saw a clip where she was talking about how she was pushing to have Toni Storm be like one of her like side people when she was pitching for Damage Control the first time, and they were like, nah. And then Tony left WWE, right? Like she wanted her release. So crazy that this clearly spawned from her doing stuff with that movie. And then like the gears are moving in her head, like, oh, what if I like did something like that? But I would say this is going down as one of the more wild attempts at a character in especially this era of wrestling that has worked completely. And I love it.
Did you catch anything else on Collision this week?
Yes. Got to shout out the Toronto boy. Shout out Northern Crown, Josh Alexander taking on Brody. And they went a time limit, which means that I guess they're going to have to do this one again.
Yeah, they went 15 minutes, and the crowd were really into it. Yeah, I enjoyed it a lot.
We've watched this guy. I've definitely watched Alexander for like what feels like 20 years on the indies in Ontario wrestling scene. So to finally see him on TV is super awesome and super cool. But at the same time, I'm now watching all these people who may not have been familiar with him, who are instantly like connecting and like, oh wait, this guy is wrestling. This guy is like hooping out there, and I think it's amazing, and I love seeing him on TV. And I know they got the Maple Leaf Wrestling here in Toronto next week, and he's a big part of that. I think one of the big Canadian stars, only big Canadian star on that show, really coming in for that next week. So I'm thrilled to see this guy, and I love Brody. So I think we're gonna have to run this match back on like Dynamite or something. But yeah, it's weird. You know how much I've been loving Takeshita, but now Josh Alexander and Takeshita are on the same team, and I'm like, fuck yeah, amazing.
Had Sammy Guevara win $100,000 as well. I'm loving these just $100,000 matches. Pretty fun.
Tony's actually giving the money, right? Like it's Tony. He's a mark, you know.
You know, if I was say Hologram though, who is what 22-0, 23-0, something like that, right. I'd be like, hey, Kevin Knight just won $100K 2 weeks ago. Why does he get a shot at another 100K? Why is he in this match?
Yeah.
But I thought it was pretty fun. And I like it. It's a stupid thing. But yeah, wrestle for money. Like, I understand money. Everyone wants money. Sure.
Usually it's like wrestle and you get a title shot. But like, how about, I just make $100,000.
Yeah,
so
I'd love to make 100K on a Saturday.
You know how much Dragon Ball Z shit Sammy Guevara is going to go buy with that? He's already spent
for his kid instead, I would hope.
No. I watch his social media clips sometimes, and he's still just, Dragon Ball Z. So
also, I just want to say I'm going back because we didn't talk about Dynamite the week before because I was away. But why on earth did the Rock and Roll Express keep going to AEW? Because they get murdered every time. Every time they show up, I'd be like, no, I don't care if you're giving me a free ticket. This time it was FTR taking them out.
Like PTSD, guys. Fool me once, can't get fooled again. Like guys,
the Death Riders have killed him twice. Twice.
They've been tied up. It's not even like we got attacked. Yeah, it's like you were straight up kidnapped on a show. I don't.
And
think
every time they come back, they're like, "Yeah, I'm back." But yeah, that leads to the main event of FTR against Paragon. The Paragon. Kyle O'Reilly, Roderick Strong. Pretty fun match. Pretty fun 2 out 3 falls match to close the show, I thought.
Pretty fun match, but dare I say are these guys just, it's bad luck when they wrestle? For years, I thought, I can't wait to see these guys wrestle. And now they've given us a few times and it hasn't hit maybe the way that all those times we were like, whoa, imagine if you could cross promote at the time, FTR versus Undisputed Era. And I think it's just the issue right now. We're in a restructure, a rephase of Paragon, and it's the name right away and that dorky looking blue t-shirt.
Oh, the colors. No. They've just lost their aura.
Everything is gone.
Everything felt like I enjoyed the match. I thought it was a pretty fun match.
It was fine.
They're not this isn't black and gold Undisputed Era, and I get why they're back together. It's let's just try and put them back together because that worked. But there's the aura's just gone. And I don't know if at this point it can go back. I thought Adam Cole was awful on commentary, which is weird because he's such a good speaker. Maybe as a heel, he'd be better because he can be a bit more biting and funny. But I thought he was super weak on commentary. And I think I think the Collision commentary isn't the strongest with, Tony doing play-by-play, who I love Tony Schiavone, but I think at this stage of his career, he's a little past being the play-by-play person. I think he's better as being a number 2 on the booth. And it just, the commentary felt off. And then, as you said, the blue and red just doesn't look good at all. But I enjoyed the match for what it was. But yeah, was it Revival versus Undisputed Era? No.
Yeah, I don't like this Paragon name, and I can get over a name as we've seen in wrestling pretty quickly, but it's the shirt, it's the way they're presented. I'm just like, this is just rehash. And I thought giving Adam Cole the title was a good way to reset. All 3 of them together should be together. Why not? It worked. It works the best when they are together. But the name change to another name, the Undisputed Kingdom, and then now we're Paragon. So now you can't even say your catchphrase of that's undisputed. What is a paragon even? Paragon, a person or thing regarded as a perfect example of particular quality. And I don't think that's what this is right now. So I don't like the name. I don't like the shirt. I hope it can eventually get better and get good. But as of right now, it's it's a rehash of something.
What did you think of the Daniel Garcia thing after?
Well, what happened to Daniel Garcia? Why don't we care about him anymore? And I'm speaking in saying we, but why don't I care about him anymore? I'm not the only one. There's no reaction to him.
I thought he sounded good. I think he's joining them though. That's what I got, because
that'd be more interesting.
He comes out to attack them, doesn't, and is no, I'll take one or all of you or whatever. I can see him coming out next week going
another group for Daniel Garcia.
Yeah, I know. All three of them being there, and then someone comes out as backup and Garcia turns on him is what I kind of see happening. And joining Stokely and FTR, just the way in this promo he was like going, you guys have been there for me. You've done everything for me all this time and all that. Like,
sorry, you think he's joining
FTR?
FTR. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Right. Okay.
So I could see next week like him squaring off with them, Adam Cole coming to try and even the odds, and him turning on Adam Cole is what I picture.
Okay.
And then you can have FTR going for the tag titles and Garcia going back for his TNT title.
Daniel Garcia, like it's been stop-start. It's been all over the place for the past few years. And I think people were wondering like, hey, his contract and all that, it could be up and he could be going. And we see like Ricky Starks is the one who did leave and was given a title almost instantly and will be featured a whole lot. And it just feels like on the up right now. Whereas Daniel Garcia just feels like it's slowly like people are getting a little disinterested, and he's been put in pairings with all these different random people, and it still just doesn't seem to work when like we know he's a good wrestler and the dancing thing got over to an extent, but like what's the next kind of thing there? And I don't know if you were to just place Daniel Garcia in a WWE or NXT like tomorrow, would he be instantly more interesting because of like a landscape change or like different fresh things there? Like it just feels like Garcia, they've tried so many different things and I'm not sure what the issue is, because I love Daniel Garcia, just like the crowd just didn't seem interested in it, and maybe adding him to FTR would be. I
felt they reacted when he came out, but I know what you mean. Like I just think there's a ceiling with him. I can't.
Yeah.
I think it's hard when there's so many like great wrestlers. Like his wrestling is awesome, but there is, and I don't think he's a bad talker, but I don't see him being much higher than this level either, per se.
Yeah. But yeah, overall, I enjoyed AEW this week, especially Dynamite. I love the wrestling, and am looking forward to the pay-per-view. So it looks like they'll add, whether it's like the Anarchy or all this kind of one of those matches, right? So the only match we have announced is the Owen final, and the two Owen finals, I guess, are what's been announced, right? Because it's Mercedes and Jamie and Hangman and Ospreay.
Yeah.
So those are two solid matches. I'm sure those will definitely bang.
Oh yeah.
On that pay-per-view, which is going up against Battleground on May 25th. So definitely bummed about that. But you got to pick which one you want to watch, people, or just watch one after the other. But,
yeah. Yes.
Anything else this week in the wrestling? Oh, I mean,
two dickheads announce a new real wrestling company.
Yeah, there's not enough wrestling right now, and we need more of it. And you know what we've been missing? Hulk Hogan. We need more of Hulk Hogan and Eric Bischoff with real American freestyle.
Did you know Hulk Hogan faced Brock Lesnar after he went back to fight the UFC?
No, I didn't know that.
No, neither did I.
It didn't fucking happen.
Yeah.
What do we see? Is this another like Pastamania type venture, or more like the XWF, or how many ventures have this guy had over the years?
So this is actual freestyle wrestling. This is proper like amateur wrestling. But with a bit of a, I'm getting the sense, a bit of a pro wrestling twist. So, promos and all that, and trying to get personality. I am not going to watch this. What I find really interesting is if you follow Bischoff's Twitter, he's been a lot less negative about AEW since this venture has started. Right. Because it's like now everyone's going to be going up at him with ratings and attendance and pay-per-view buys and all that kind of stuff that
I'm going to be watching about. Yeah, I'm going to be looking at ratings for whatever the fuck this is, if it even actually launches, because you can't trust anything that comes out of the mouth of Hulk Hogan. So even him saying, yeah, we're going to get a network deal. No, probably not.
So they've got one date announced, I believe, so far.
Yeah. They're going to try to stack that up. He's going to call in his MAGA friends. He's invited Trump. He's invited like people to show up.
Is it Dan Askren's in it? I think, and
gonna try to get some like
trying to get Gable Steveson and.
Oh yeah. Let's line up, put them all together. Get Conor McGregor in there too. You know, line up all the fucking creepy fucking dudes in the world of fighting. Why not? Hulk Hogan. People love him, right? He's gonna be sponsored by his beer, probably. WWE will, WWE will probably get their hands in this too. Who knows? But yeah, I can't wait to see where this goes. So excited. So excited. What's the name of Bischoff's podcast?
How
many weeks was that?
53 weeks, was it?
53 weeks? Yeah.
83 weeks.
83 weeks. All right. So his next show will be called 8 Weeks with Eric.
Yeah, I see them running one show.
One show?
Yeah.
Ooh, okay. Yeah. Because the way I saw a clip of Hogan and he was like, yeah, it's going to be like The Voice and it's going to be like wrestling and The Voice. What?
He's going to be the commissioner, right? So he's going to be
commissioner.
Yeah, he's going to be coming out booking the matches and stuff.
Yeah, that's what it's called. Booking the matches, getting paid to just be there, just putting his face all over it. Yeah, another Hulk Hogan fucking thing no one asked for. So
I'm excited because I'm just looking forward to it to just be embarrassingly bad. And I
am not saying I want it to be really bad, but
I am.
Yeah, I really want Eric Bischoff talk so much shit for someone whose best creations are like, you know, stolen from other people's creations and ideas. Like, fuck you, man. I am such a fan of Eric Bischoff over the years, but lately he has been this grumpy, like, asshole for no reason. And now of course he's changing his tune. I saw Hulk Hogan also was asked about wrestling that he watches, and he was talking about how he loves AEW and he loves Tony Storm and he loves that's like, oh yeah, I'm sure you do, so that you can go ask them to help promote your fucking shows. And when people start talking about your ratings and fucking all that bullshit,
I'm sure they'd absolutely try and get TKO to buy this though.
Yeah, they probably already have.
TKO getting into boxing and all that. It's like, yeah, let's get into amateur wrestling as well.
Like, what is Hulk Hogan gonna teach you about amateur wrestling? What is the commission like? Yeah, but he was really good in Japan, brother. Yeah, he was. Yeah.
And then Naito and Bushi have now officially left New Japan Pro Wrestling.
They're gonna join Real American Freestyle.
Yeah, exactly.
He's gonna teach people how to do Destino. It's his Destino to leave New Japan, I guess. Really weird move timing. Like, it's not I'm retiring, I'm leaving New Japan. Okay, so what are you doing? So
Naito kind of said, like, essentially, I'm a free agent. I could work anywhere. He's like, I might work next month. It might be next year. It could be back here. Maybe he's just wanting to rest, and like, I hope, because his
knees are screaming at him every day.
But by the sounds of it, he didn't like rule out going back to New Japan. So you could see him do a dome show or something like that down the line. But he's essentially a free agent to work wherever he wants and do whatever he wants. But they're also kind of saying that LIJ is now no more as well.
Oh, like completely the whole group is done.
I think so. That's what it sounded like to me.
That's insane. Because like Naito has not really been the Naito, obviously, of the past years, but you can't deny the popularity of LIJ. Just I went to that Wrestle Kingdom when it was him and Okada, and it was the biggest merch mover that weekend. That event was like the hats and the shirts of like anything LIJ. I still see in public quite often, and like I know people are into that, but the dude needs to not wrestle for a while. Like, he needs to just go on vacation for like 2 years. Ask Rey Mysterio about his knee guy. You got a guy for his knees? Yeah, hit him up, because like New Japan was just destroyed in the last year or two of like, we lost everyone, and they realized, hey, we still have Naito. He's still popular, which was just like, man, like this guy is being held together with tape, it seems like. And I think he needs to go away. I don't think WWE or an AEW is in his sights or would even want him to come in at the state of again, just his body and the condition it's been in the last little while. Like, was he going to go wrestle GCW? Is he going to wrestle somewhere else? Like, what is he?
So apparently he's like got a desire to like wrestle kind of smaller countries and things that he wouldn't necessarily be able to in New Japan. Like he wrestled in Costa Rica in 2019, and he's looking forward to doing more things like that.
He wants to do the canceled wrestler tour route. That's
Puerto Rico. That's Puerto Rico.
They do Puerto Rico, Sudbury, Ontario.
He's like he felt a disconnect with New Japan over the last little while, and yeah, he's got no regrets about leaving and has had full support. But he hinted at freelancing, saying he might meet fans again somewhere, possibly not in a New Japan ring, and urge fans not to be too sad. Yeah.
It sounds like maybe it's more of a personal thing and they didn't let him do certain things that he wants to, and the door is still open for him to come back. And he's kind of past it. He's definitely been beaten up and beaten down. His body can't do this full time. He's not the Naito of old, you know?
It kind of sounds like a Bryan Danielson retirement in a way. Like, this is me done as a full-time wrestler. I might be back, but if this is it, I'm happy with this being it. Is kind of the sense I'm getting with this.
Is this the last true, like, Tana leaving, right? Tana's gone.
Yeah.
And then, like, will be gone, right? And then Naito now gone, Okada gone, Nakamura was gone like 10 years ago. Like,
it's Eddie Thorpe's for the taking.
Like, New Japan is just in a very, very state of affairs here. It's like, wow, I feel like that Naito's the last like big one.
I think honestly, I think it's a good thing though, because you're gonna have still like a transition process of a couple of years, but it forces their hand now. They gotta pull the trigger on your Gabe Kids of the world and these other kind of people and get people in, and they're forced to now. They've got no one. They've got none of their stars after January 4th next year when Tana retires.
So I think I saw Gabe Kidd is now at the Bullet Club. They're doing like a reset of all that stuff. So they are going to go forward with pushing Gabe Kidd, which we were asking a while ago. Like, since that match with Kenny, it's like you would have figured they put all the eggs in that basket, and they didn't really do that. And now it seems like they are. Having Okada leave and then Naito now, like, I feel like they're going to be in some sort of panic mode, and they're going to have to choose some people real quick. They've tried in the last little while and it wasn't necessarily a success. However, someone they do have under a very interesting contract is my current GOAT, Takeshita. And like, there's a guy right there. You go, Tony, sorry, take him off TV for a while. We're going to book him as our champ. And he could be your fucking headliner at the Dome come January if treated correctly. So this is a sink or swim. They've been in this position for the last few years, and they fucking sucked the last few years. And this could be like for the better. We might have to go through some shit, but hopefully New Japan can bounce back and figure it out. But yeah, crazy Naito. You know, they did upload. New Japan uploaded a few of his older matches, and they uploaded the Kenny Omega Naito G1. And I mean, I'm sure all these years removed, if you're listening to this, you probably have seen that match. But if you've never have, it's now available for free on their YouTube. And fuck, that match is amazing. So I know you're not the biggest Naito fan, but and to be fair, neither have I. But he has had some moments in his career where I'm like, all right, I like that guy. So hopefully this isn't the exact end, but fix those knees, please.
And finally, Dark Side of the Ring. What have you caught? It's been a couple of weeks since we talked about it. I caught up yesterday on the Billy Graham episode and the Eddie Gilbert episode.
Yeah, this one was pretty great. I can't say I was super familiar with Eddie Gilbert. I obviously know who he is, and I know all the stuff about like the ECW and like he was a wrestler and this and that, but I didn't know a whole lot. And that's kind of when I love about Dark Side. It's the sweet spot for me of like showing me a documentary about someone that we should know a little bit more about. And this was one of those episodes where it shows him with the brawling. And what did Jim Cornette say about Onita saw this and then went back to Japan and was like, I'm going to create hardcore wrestling and all that. I'm sure people would might dispute all that and everything. But like, there's some cool stuff that this guy did. And it sounded like he just really wanted to book wrestling, right? Like, so I loved the stuff with him talking about Missy Hyatt and Medusa, and then him getting into like obviously pain pills and drugs and all that stuff. But AEW superstar Ricky Morton had one of my favorite things to say about the Philly crowds. He says, the people in Philly are so mean. I mean, these people don't even like ice cream. I thought that was such a good line. Yeah, what did you think of this episode?
Yeah, I really liked it. He's one of those people that's been a name I've like heard about, but never really learned too much about. And he did seem like pretty ahead of his time. Like I liked showing, like it showed him as like a actual wrestler, and even his wrestling looked pretty like ahead of its time. It kind of, I don't know, reminded me of watching Owen Hart in those clips they showed him from early on, and then had the accident, and then had this whole complete new identity as what was it, Hot Stuff or something like that, and being the heel. And I thought the promos they showed, he sounded pretty great, and yeah, I found it super interesting. How he kind of helped start ECW. It was sad, the story with him and Paul Heyman, and Paul kind of just completely cutting him out. But yeah, I found this interesting. It actually made me like after watching this, he was someone I kind of wanted to maybe revisit a little bit of.
I have some interest in digging into that Paul Heyman thing. I don't quite understand that. I don't get, like, was Paul Heyman mad that this guy was given some reign to book and he felt like he was opposed? I don't quite get that, and why he was upset at this guy and this and that. Maybe there's more into it. Maybe this will spark some people to talk about it. And I definitely would want to dig into hearing about that. I mean, we've heard some things about Paul Heyman over the years, so it's not like I'm color me shocked or anything. I'm just like intrigued of what that was all about.
I got the sense maybe he was worried, especially think of the style they'd created with ECW, like with the, and maybe I'm getting timelines mixed up, but like with, Shane Douglas shooting on the NWA and that kind of thing. And even though Eddie Gilbert was coming out and thanking the fans, whether Paul was concerned that actually he's going to turn around and then be like, and fuck you guys and all this, and because he was like, cut the mic, and they never spoke again. So I don't know, but that bit seemed a little bit weird, because they were saying they're best friends, and Eddie Gilbert helped bring Paul into the business and all that sort of stuff. Yeah.
So that was like, oh, I love the clips of him hitting Jerry Lawler with his car.
Yes,
bro, he fucking hit him with that car, dude. I rewound that like 3 times. That shit was nuts. I know, like, wrestling fans, Jerry Lawler, we're used to him commentary, but years ago, I told you I had like the WWE Classics channel, and I subscribed to Fight Network years before I ever worked there, and like I would watch a lot of old Memphis stuff, and I find it so fascinating. I used to watch so much of it, and it would be shit like this. You would see Lawler like hitting people with fireballs and like fighting through the crowds and stuff. And like these guys were like, creating stuff that is stuff there's so many fans of this kind of stuff. We watch AEW, there's always brawls through the crowd and all this shit. But Lawler being down to be hit by the car, only for everyone to be like, yo, you better slow that. Yo, you're gonna, and then he hits him. And like, I don't know if he was actually hurt, but that looked like it fucking hurt. Like
I almost got hit by a car the other day. I was walking back from getting my prescription, and the driver, it's my right of way, like it's the green man to cross, red light for the car, and he's edging forward and forward and forward. And I'm seeing him looking left, not looking me at all. And then he just goes for it as I'm crossing the road.
Oh my God.
And I just slammed my hands on the thing, like jolted my arm, like flipped him off, yelled at him, and threw my bottle at the window.
Oh my God. Wow.
It's like, fuck you almost killed me. Going full Eddie Gilbert on me. But yeah, I also thought didn't paint Ric Flair in the best of light either.
Because the booking stuff and
how about you lose in Memphis? Yeah,
this guy got
seems like he got fucked over a lot. Yeah,
and
seemed like a nice dude who genuinely just loved wrestling and wanted to book wrestling.
Yeah, he would have really loved SmackDown versus Raw GM mode. he would have really appreciated it. He helped create it, I'm sure, because of the stuff about him and wrestling cards and stuff. And then I didn't get enough of him versus the Bear. I would have really loved.
I know they teased us with that.
How can you tease us with that?
I honestly thought, because I thought that was going to be like, because most of these stories end in tragedy, and I don't know the Eddie Gilbert story, and I was like, this isn't going to end with him being killed by a fucking bear, is it?
Yeah, that'd be a sick way to go out. Like, people would be like, "Yo, that guy's fucking hard as fuck. He fought a bear. What about Never mind of fighting a gorilla. 99 other people." But yeah, wow. I would really love to see more of wrestlers versus bears. I'm a big fan. So,
yeah. Did you catch any of the Billy Graham episode as well?
Yes, I did. I was on Post Wrestling with John Pollock last week, and we discussed it as well. And I kind of gave my 2 cents, but I also really enjoyed this episode. This one with Hulk Hogan just ripping off his entire shtick, and everything. But what did you think of it?
I thought it was great. I knew a bit more about it. The main things I've heard about Eddie Graham in the past is like, you wouldn't have got a Hulk Hogan without Billy Graham. The thing that really interested me, though, was when I found out he wrote a play about wrestling and about his life in wrestling, because this is something I think has been a bit of an untapped market in theater, because I think the stories, like, we know so many backstage stories in the world of wrestling, and I think so many lend itself to be dramatized. Like, obviously we've got the movie The Wrestler, but I'm surprised there aren't more plays about wrestling. So when I found out Billy Graham had written this, and it's showing clips with Jake the Snake in it, I then look, the whole thing is on YouTube. So you can actually watch this whole thing. So I would love to one day us review this, or if someone wants to pick it for an Up Yours or something. It's about 1 hour and 7 minutes. But
what's it called?
The Empty Ring, I think.
Oh my God.
And maybe one day this is something that like a playwright and a dramaturg and stuff could actually rework, because obviously it's Billy Graham's story and stuff. But that was something I found really interesting, but just really, really sad story. We talk about wrestling, being scripted, predetermined, whatever, but how hard he took it when that title was taken from him by Bob Backlund, even when he knew when he won the title that this was the plan, and just how he sort of spiraled after that, because, and it's a story we see so often. It's obviously the drugs and alcohol and addiction and depression and that come up frequently in these Dark Side of the Rings, but also just the separation of character with real person is something that keeps on coming up as well. And I thought that was something that was very interesting with Billy Graham too.
No, yeah, I love this episode as well. I did know some of his stuff. I remember watching some doc WWE did on him a while ago, but this one was obviously it's more realistic. When Darkseid covers it, they're way more open and honest about certain things, and so many years removed, and the interviews and stuff that they get are really great. But I'm loving every season of this show. It's my favorite show. Like, it's almost like I love my true crime stuff, and some of them aren't necessarily true crime by any means, but like covering something in a documentary form, and then it's also about wrestling, and it's like my dark spots of things that I don't like is when I love it the most. So again, this show every season knocks it out the park, and I hope they don't ever stop. They're gonna run out of things eventually, but I hope maybe they just slowly, like the light side of the ring, where it's just positive stories sometimes. But I love this show, and I can't wait for the next few episodes in this season. Muhammad Hassan, come on, get out of here.
Next week's is Billy Jack Haynes, who murdered his wife just last year.
Jesus
I think this episode involves interviews with him whilst he's in prison. So I think that's going to be, again, someone I remember the news breaking last year, but someone I don't know a whole lot about. So I'm sure that's going to be wild as well.
I just realized, I think it was because it was WrestleMania week, I totally skipped over the Tony Atlas one. I need to watch that. I did not watch this one, so I will. I'm sure there's feet in it.
You watch Legends House, so I'm pretty sure you get half of this already.
Great, yeah. And then there's the original Sheik, Daphne, and Muhammad Hassan. So yeah,
Yes.
totally. That's crazy stuff. But again, that show knocked it out the park. I told John on our Rewind to Dynamite or whatever when we were talking about it, but one of the weirdest pieces of WWE merch that I have is this figure. It might be right behind you actually, but it's the Billy Graham black and white figure. Isn't that like one of the weirdest figures ever? I don't know where I remember how I got this, but it's a black and white figure of Billy Graham. And it says because he was mostly wrestling when TV was black and white. But then this episode, it plays a clip of him being like, oh, there it is right there. Yeah, amazing. One of 3,000. So this could be yours at the Brady. Give me your highest bid in this black and white superstar.
It looks like a zombie edition, you know?
Yeah. It looks like it's a zombie version because it's black and white. But in the clip, it says, go out there, leave your house right now, go out to the store, buy yourself a color TV and see how good I look in full color. I'm like, oh, maybe that's why they made this figure about him. That's in black and white. But yeah, great stuff.
Highest bidder. At the Brady.
You know want a black and white Billy Graham figure? It could be yours. One of 3,000. That means there's only 2,999 other ones out there somewhere. So yeah, there you go. That was Dark Side of the Ring. Any other tiny little things in the world of wrestling? I noticed Mayu Iwatani leaving Stardom and joining Marigold, which is kind of WWE affiliated, at least we can kind of assume. So maybe there's a chance that we get Mayu in WWE. They realize, hey, the Joshis thing has kind of been working out for us. We've created a bunch of stars, and maybe we could continue that. So I'm wondering if the jump from Mayu to Marigold eventually leads to a jump in WWE. And we've watched her matches and stuff before, and she's always impressive. So that's why that was kind of sparked my interest there, but I can't think of anything else. I think we're done for the day. I think we're talking about wrestling. You survived.
I need more meds. Yeah, my stomach is killing me.
Fair enough. Appreciate everyone out there listening. We can't do this without you. Our frogs out there love the support. We'll be back this Tuesday right after NXT live, 10:05 p.m. on Post Wrestling YouTube. And next week is Mother's Day, so I won't be here, but I hear you're still going to do a show.
Yes, I'm going to be joined because we've already had Mother's Day in the UK and Ireland. It was in March, so we ain't celebrating. We ain't celebrating. We don't care about mothers next week. So I'll be joined by Neil Flanagan to talk all about Backlash, which is next week. So we'll be talking about Backlash and talking about the other stuff in the world of wrestling.
Yes, if you're in the Toronto area, there's Maple Leaf Wrestling at Maple Leaf Gardens next Saturday night as well, going up against Backlash. Would love any live feedback, and if anyone's going to the show, I'm going to try to make it, but I do have dinner with people earlier. I'm going to try to leave and make it, but we'll see. But I'm definitely looking forward to seeing that because Maple Leaf Gardens and the history and all that. But if you are going, we'll maybe talk about that in the next weeks or so if I do end up going. But there's also Demand Lucha, which you can catch us at in a few weeks. They're doing a whole run of Ontario. I know they're doing like Ottawa and the show here at the Phoenix in Toronto. So catch us at Demand Lucha. And if you are in the area, check them out on socials. And we'll definitely see you there because they're always a hoot and a riot. But Poisonrana.ca for links of everything that we do. Give us a follow, Instagram, Twitter, Blue Sky, Facebook. We're on all those fun things, and appreciate everyone out there. And we'll chat very, very soon. So get better, Davie. Feel better. And everyone out there, love, appreciate, take care. Goodbye. Be safe. And may the 4th be with you.
Ahoy!
Poisonrana.